Greetings, peace to everyone. Ugh, what a constant test, what a constant war, spiritual battle and war. Um, no servant greater than the master. Messiah's words. Of course, he is saying he's the master. Prideful man. Ooh, what a prideful man. Wicked, doing the Creator's will. Prideful beast, denying self to do the Father's will. Look at his words. Look how strong they are. Even saying that he did works that no one else did, which is true. No one else did at the time. And to this day, it's few. But when he said that at the time, a little discernment, no one did the works Messiah did. And then I put in the description something that I think I need to understand more, but maybe I have a little bit on it because it's kind of, what does it say? It says, if they didn't see the works, they would have no sin. Does that mean someone hasn't done any sin? See, that could be a contradiction in someone's mind, unless we're getting the understanding, which is always what it is first until the understanding comes. And I know I need more understanding on these verses, but try to speak maybe a little bit of what I see on it. The works he did, it's going to look like and sound like it's only about the natural, but it's not. Someone getting healed from some physical disease and sickness, but who believes he can still do that? And nevertheless, we're not looking for the Red Sea to get split because that doesn't concern the heart. What it means does, and it's connected that way, but that by itself, you know, doesn't. Like we read, if someone were raised from the dead, they still wouldn't believe those are Messiah's words. Though someone's raised from the dead, they'll still be on that gulf on the other side and not able to cross. But somebody makes it out to be burning in fire forever in the future, even. So it's a double-edged sword for both sides evil, because not only does it have nothing to do with now, what it's implying for now is nothingness. It doesn't have anything. It just throw away his word like that by doing that. Instead of saying, I don't know what this means and asking the Creator for understanding, it throws away his word and makes it void in someone's heart for real. Makes his word to no effect. And what will someone do? Maybe they'll try to say that your teaching of the Creator's sovereignty is stupid and foolish because of something that sounds like, in someone's mind, free will or whatever, and try to throw away his sovereignty because of these real things. Because if someone can make his word to no effect, this must mean the Creator's not sovereign. But that's foolishness. That's nonsense. That has nothing to do with the truth. It doesn't mean that. Someone can see how it doesn't mean that. It doesn't automatically mean that. Doing that work is throwing away as they speak. If someone does that, they're trying to make the word void. They're doing that, even they know not what they do. It's being done. What is that gulf? It doesn't want to see itself. Let me cry out to my friends. No, they won't hear either. You're stuck. And I'm not saying believers. This is for believers to not be stuck. There is an answer in a way. This is teaching the other thing that everyone is first already. It's stuck. It can't cross no matter how much it wants to, even. It can even try to look like it wants to, and it can't actually do it. And then Messiah says at the end of some of those words, strong words, though someone's raised from the dead, you still wouldn't believe. Proving the heart that they're not actually wanting what they act like they want. They wouldn't believe if someone rose from the dead because the heart is the problem. So their claim is false. What people claim, this is what I'm seeing in it's not in the description, but I'm by memory, whatever elsewhere in his word, we read something about that, the golf, which is like the hell doctrine in the church world. This is the cowardly evil fear they put on someone because like people say it's really happening, and I don't see that they believe it's actually happening that badly. It's working to do this. It puts a cowardly fear in someone, which is evil, and through it they control someone and end up in a prison obeying the worldly master and worshiping the man, of which we can't do. Anybody, any person, and can't be worshiping their image and what that worship is. There is a way that looks just like it. That's not that. That's the way he gives. They'll claim you do that because it looks like that to someone in darkness. It looks the same to them. We read in Revelation, someone's starting to get down on their knees. And John says, no, John is told, don't worship me, worship the Creator, worship Elohim. I'm just a fellow messenger of the kingdom. Another servant, another person, messenger, angel messenger here. And not to do what that's in the heart. Don't do that. That doesn't mean they can't be one. See, there is no way in the carnal mind. There's no way to do good. It can't, it's only evil. If one thing, well, then you must have to do evil for everything else. No, they just not asking for a way. It doesn't want a way, does it? Does it? Does someone want a way to do good that looks like the evil? The first thing is the true. The thing that's copying it is the second evil. It's not original. It's not the truth. It just copies the image. It's not the other way around. It's not the other way around. The truth is first. The truth is the truth, and it's original, and it's from the Creator, and his truth never changes. Evil is just copying the image, but it does evil in the heart while it looks good out on the outside. And the building is whitewashed, and there's dead men's bones under there, frighteningly, even literally under some of the buildings over the years, even literal bones that they've slaughtered in the church world. But the spiritual understanding of the murder in the heart is the bones inside someone. They've ate a lot of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, killing people. So then if we stop doing that, someone's going to get hungry. Well, there's no other way except to seek the Creator. That's how someone can get filled. If they stop murdering people, they'll go hungry. So they need to get filled the true way. It's going to be a reality. It's real. It's not a joke. This isn't about eating literal food. This is real. The world won't believe it, though. It's not understanding or learning that someone's spiritual hunger is very, very real. It's real. It's why Messiah teaches it. He didn't say anything in vain. Even the smallest truth is still great on its own. It's just lesser than bigger truths, that's all. But all by itself, it's very important, even the smallest thing. And in one way, the smaller things are greater than the bigger because of what it leads to, and because that's the first thing someone has to do in order to do more. So in a way, it's bigger. It does something that the big thing can't be done. No one starts at the big thing. Therefore, that little thing is very important because that's where it starts at. But the bigger thing is greater than the small thing, and yet it's not. It balances itself out. The Father's truth is perfect, literally. The head is above the feet, but what supports it? What kind of head is that has no feet or body? It's just sitting on the ground dead. Quite the picture. Look, he's the head, and it's on the ground dead. Pretty worthless. So then the feet are greater than the head, but the head is greater than the feet. It is higher, and that means something. But the feet also are higher in a way, in its own way, because it supports everything above it. So which one is greater? Neither, spiritually. Neither. Not spiritually. And that's not denying that the head is above the feet. It's accepting and acknowledging that's true. But it's also true that the feet are greater than the head. That's why the apostle is saying all this. He's bringing out the meaning that it's balanced, that there's no pride in his truth. And there's not supposed to be pride in his people, meaning no one is greater than another. It's supposed to be humble and level like that spiritually, even in this way. But the Messiah is the head of the body, and that's a reality. That doesn't mean anything prideful because the Father makes him so to be. That's it. He did it. Who can stop it? Who's going to complain now? Let them complain that somebody is the head. You know, you want to be the head and have all that responsibility, you run away like a chicken. You'd hope that some train hits you and try to make that happen while making it look like you don't want it to happen. That's what someone would do if they instantly were in that position all of a sudden. They bury themselves, not pretending, speaking the truth. That's what would be self. Someone has to be built up to whatever we need to be built up. Can't handle it for real. It really can't. Nobody can. It needs to be given little bit by little. Can't handle doing good. It needs to be built up. Otherwise, why do we read of the foundation so often and the building up of the foundation? And there is no foundation without true teachings, the foundational truths. Like people do say those words, they built the foundation on sand. And the lying doctrines is a false foundation that's set up to only fall. Their house themselves will fall then if that's so. It's just the truth, that's all, which is everything. So that's all is like not meaning like it's nothing. Everything about the definition of everything's constantly changing. Even the simplest words like, wow, I didn't see that. That's all doesn't mean like how it's so often used in this world. Like it's kind of like, shrug and it's nothing. No, it means that's like everything. That's all for real. And so there's all these phrases like this that exist in this world that it's like already, it just is already. And you start realizing it that they're just catchphrases. They don't even mean what they really are saying. And that's how blind everyone is first. That's how blind I'm first, until you start seeing something like, wow, people don't use these words for real. It's through some kind of sarcastic joke with no actual meaning. It just applies to a bunch of contradicting nonsense and not the truth. And if someone's not seeing what this is, then this is going to sound like gibberish, Probably a lot worse than that. It's going to sound evil because you touch my world. No, the Creator and his truth is saying that in his word constantly. Have they ever read? We don't create the truth. All of a sudden now, don't touch my world. That's my world, because it's still in and of the world. It's very deeply connected in spirit to the world and its ways. So if you talk about the world, it's like touching them, but we're not not wanting to destroy them for evil intention. They can't believe it. They don't realize that's the only way, is to be destroyed, actually, and jump ship and die and be drowned so that someone can live. But spiritually, someone that doesn't believe, they can't believe that they can live. They only see death. They only see pointlessness to do good in the heart for real. These thoughts are in the heart for real. That's not just like doctrine for words only in religion. So someone's heart says, and they have a flash of lightning, this is worthless. And then they don't even realize why they're doing what they're doing, because it's not able to meditate on his truth. That's torment still. It's very much torment. Kind of like Sodom and Gomorrah is starting to become torment for believers. It's torment. Stop talking about the world for 40 minutes. I can't take it. I won't bear it. Messiah says, but you have some things in you still. This is good over here, see? Don't people realize in Revelation that this is mixed? But we got to realize it. That's how it has to be, but you have to come out of it. It's those that care and are afraid that that's true for real in them, that there's something mixed, and to see it. Those are the ones that hear. Everyone already is that first. It's just believers needing to see it for real and believe it and actually start coming out of the mixed evil thing. You do some good, but I say this against you. That's in everyone. He's to show us more. Now, those that don't care at all, for real, whoever that is in this world, those words won't mean anything to them in their heart. They're just nice words to maybe read like once a year or something, or never. Like the church world religion denomination I grew up in, their thing, which is a little different than some others, is never to read from Revelation. They never did it. Not that I can remember even once. They just stayed away from it. Is reading it the answer? Let me read it today. No, that's not it either. But see, that's going to sound contradicting, because it's going to sound like, well, you want them to read it. No, it's bringing out a heart problem. It's just bringing out a specific thing in a specific denomination at this time that's very real. Just because someone reads it, it doesn't mean anything all of a sudden by itself, because the flesh profits nothing. His word is spirit. But it's a problem. It's a discernment for one thing. Why on earth stay away from the revelation of Messiah in us, which is what this book is, which is all his word wrapped up in one book that I can see, and has so much of his word within the book of Revelation. Like, I believe it's perfect, because the more someone sees it, the more they'll see how that's perfect itself. So they need to see more. But whatever I see that it is all of his word put together. This doesn't mean some worthless thing. This is good. This is just something that's true into one book. The revelation of Messiah and the kingdom and what everything is about. Doesn't mean throw away all these other books. That's nonsense. That's evil. It's one. It's saying the opposite. This is the revelation. These are the things that must take place shortly for those that believe. No blessings for those that don't keep the words and the prophecies of that book. Zero, nothing. No blessing then. Blessed are those that read and keep the words and prophecy of this book. Prophecy. That's not speaking about the literal end times only. That's not what the revelation is. Does it include it? It doesn't. Yes, it doesn't matter though. That's not what it means. That's not the heavenly thing. What good is that for someone then today? What good was it for someone 500 years ago to talk about what never happened? And just because it will happen, that doesn't justify it. Because it happened someday in the future, that's not the meaning. That's not the things that must come shortly, quickly. What a great giant lie this is, to teach and believe the carnal thing forever, the lie. Because that's calling the Father a liar, that these things must come quickly. To who? Every believer. Every one of them. So what? It hasn't come so all these years? It's been a lie for believers all these years. Have they ever considered what they imply and teach for real? No, no, not at all. Because if they did, they would stop frozen and become stiff like a board if they could see what's been done, kind of like what happens when someone repents for real. They see a little bit of what they've done, a little bit, and that is good. And, that might bring sorrow to someone, like every believer that's ever existed. That's what it'll do. They would stop frozen and suddenly have light and sight that the Father gives that's very real, and see, wow, I've done great evil, but there's a long ways to go now. That's not the end, that's the beginning. The the knowledge the knowledge of the Creator is just the beginning of it's just the beginning. The fear of the Creator is just the beginning, not the end of knowledge, the true knowledge, the fear of the, like we read, the fear, the proper fear, not the cowardly fear they're trying to put on people, not the devil's fear, the masquerade fear. There's always two things, two sides to a sword, the natural and the spiritual. And the natural for us is the shadow and not the truth. Therefore, the natural side of his word is not the understanding, it's not the heavenly. Even though these things will happen and there will be connections, it's seeing that that's not the spiritual heavenly understanding. It's the natural, the earthly, the lowly thing. And there needs to be rightly dividing between the two, because the Creator will teach someone what his word means, and not in one day, but that's what must happen. Otherwise, someone won't have a clue ever. But when they pretend to know, that keeps someone in death, because the moment they say they know when they don't, they'll never seek it. So that's what the prison does to someone in there. It traps them and keeps them in death and faithlessness for real. That's what it'll do to someone. And no one can see what this is unless they've already started to come out of it. How could they see it then? How can someone in it see what's being spoken unless they've already come out, that there's a beginning of the new creation in someone belief? Something like the beginning of the literal creation with Adam and everything. But that's the natural. That's not fixing the heart. The first Adam is made of dust. The second Adam, Messiah, is from heaven, like we read, and things of the Spirit, life-giving Spirit. And Messiah said while he's standing on earth to the Pharisees and the religion, to Jerusalem, I am from above, you are from beneath. How prideful does that sound to a heretic? It's just the truth. It sounds very prideful to an unbeliever. Oh, you're from above? How is it going to understand what that means? So it's trying to think of the natural carnal mind, thinking of the natural meaning of this, and it's not the understanding. It has to be given from the Creator for real. Or else whatever they really believe in their heart about it is not the truth already. Who can accept that? Those that deny themselves can accept that. Not before. Those that don't deny themselves cannot accept that. There's nothing I don't know. I'm God. And so then it takes its accusation and puts it on Messiah and his people for what they are still themselves, fully and completely. It's prideful. It's not denying self. What doesn't believe that the Creator gives the truth, that gives these things, it calls that pride when someone has something. They're supposed to want someone to have the truth, to believe that they want and hope for someone's death. The works prove it. Now that's very evil. When you say those words, that brings out a very evil image, and that could make someone angry to say what you see for real. Or what are we supposed to say? What we don't see? Make a picture up and lie to someone to please them, to become like fake friends to please them, to say something pleasing so that they don't hate you. That the true good thing is always the hard thing. So the person in unbelief will do the evil, easy thing, the wide gate thing. And that's to try to please everyone, people pleasers. This means something. The intention of the heart is to carnally please everyone, even for your own self, so that they think certain things about you the way you want them to. This is not giving truth to the neighbor. This is wanting them to worship you and please us then if we do that. Or, to please them and get the same corruption back. If Messiah didn't do the works, we read that there would be no sin. He's bringing something out. It's not meaning that there is no sin that was done in the heart for real. This is different. This is something separate, because everyone's done that. Everyone's first the natural, spirit, carnal, then the spiritual. Everyone's a sinner. That would contradict his word elsewhere if that were the meaning. That's not the meaning. It's something about the kingdom that's began that wasn't so before. That's why we read that now he commands everyone everywhere to repent. The Spirit is speaking, and someone is guilty. They know that they do some kind of evil, and and when these works are especially shown to someone, it's like an extra strong judgment on someone because they've seen the works of the Creator, and now it's like there's no excuse. But I'm sure I need to see more on those verses. I don't believe it's complete, whatever I see. But then again, what is complete? You just keep going. Don't try to pretend and say, well, it's complete right now because I say so. How do I know that? And then he gives you more later to prove that you were wrong. It wasn't complete. Then he gives you more later. And then you finally start giving up thinking. And then you don't want to think like that anymore because he proves it. If he keeps giving you more, then how can we say it's complete now? You just don't do that anymore in the heart. You just let it be for what it is. You don't say it's complete. I know everything, what we're not doing, can't be doing. What does it do to Messiah? You're God, you know everything. Because he gives them the truth. Why don't you hear my words? He said, because I tell you the truth, you can't hear my words. Why? Because he tells them the truth. That's why they can't hear. It's what we read. Sometimes the very simplest thing is really what it means. And then when the world sees the simple thing, they reverse it. So the simple thing becomes a parable when it's not. And the parable becomes the literal thing and simple literal thing when it's not. It reverses everything. So backwards in everything in his word. The parable becomes literal and the simple thing becomes a parable when it shouldn't. Both are happening. So then there is no automatic for something. Sometimes it is just really simple and not a parable in his word. There's a lot of that. And other times a lot of parables. Because I tell you the truth, we read that. That's why, because he tells them the truth. That's why they don't believe, because he's telling them the truth. That's why. It's just something I see. And it's like so simple, but yet astonishing. When you can see something simple, he gives a little light to see something, and you see it's simple. But it's amazing because you never saw it when he shows something new to see it. Never took those words to heart and said, is that me? Is Messiah speaking to me? To see if this is who I am. Doesn't actually do that in its heart. And we read, what do we read? The servant is not greater than the master. So whatever they did to the master, don't even remotely think they won't do to you, because the servant is not greater than the master. It's enough for the servant or disciple to become like the master. We read that too. It's enough. That's to bring out, not to go more and not to go less than something. This is good and that's enough. For the disciple or servant to become like the master, that's enough. Don't go crazy with it now. It's just to bring it out. And that the servant is not greater than the master. So whatever they do to Messiah, don't expect them not to do now. If they kept his word on him, we read that they will keep your word. And what does that mean? But right before that, he says, if they persecute me or something like this, then they'll persecute you. If they kept my word, then they will keep your word. And someone will keep their word for evil. They'll keep it. They did that to Messiah. They kept the word for evil, though. So then they'll do that also to the servant. Noticing that if it's evil intentions in the heart, then someone's like, oh, I keep my word. You have my word on it. And then they act like the word is very important. What's the deal? What's the proof? It's just my word, scumbag. in the back of the car. We might kill each other any second. You never know. It's my word. All day long, these people can't be trusted and do evil works, but then they say they have their word to keep for evil, and often keep it for evil. Not always able to even do that, but it takes pride in like keeping my word. It's my word. It's a slave to its own self. That's not the meaning and truth of keeping your word. So what do we read? Not to swear, just to say yes or no, and not to do anything outside of the Father's will. Like if it's the Father's will, then this will happen. To do that with the heart, because mankind's doing the opposite already constantly, and never, always breaking all the time. His word is broken and doesn't do what he promises and swears. But he acts like for an image to show that he thinks this is righteous and it's good and self-righteous in keeping its own word. And we read not to swear, because before the Spirit is given, swearing is the type of saying yes or no in the Spirit, which is the real thing, of which swearing is not. Therefore, swearing only comes from evil, like Messiah says. He didn't change the law. It's something about the law that carnal man never understood at any time. So then when the real thing comes and the understanding comes, you say yes or no, because you can say it in spirit, knowing it's the truth, because of the real hearing from the Creator, connected for real. You say yes and your conscience is clear, and that is sure when that's so. That's it. That's all that's needed. Or no, and it's sure. Otherwise, the conscience bearing someone, guilt or excusing them. That's, doesn't that sound like some kind of sin? Therefore, either condemning or excusing them. This excusing is good here. It's good if it's the truth, and it is the truth, and the conscience lining up with the truth because of hearing from the Father and knowing that something's true. It excuses the evil thing because it's not so. That's all. But it can sound like it's no good excusing, because what people think excusing is in this world is already only evil. You make excuses, and that's not the meaning there. How come they don't allow for good excusing when it's the right thing and right time? They only see evil? Well, that's all, the natural mind can see, really, for real, in the heart. That's why we read, that's why the apostle speaks the truth and knows what he's talking about, because it's given. And he's not being prideful when he says to the pure, all things are pure, to the impure, all things are impure. That's pretty powerful, and it's the truth. It doesn't mean like what someone thinks, let me grab a pencil and not do something evil with it. See, I'm pure. It doesn't mean that. But that's what people will do all day long. They'll do that kind of thing to try to do something real quick to prove the truth a lie and evil, and prove their lie and evil good. To the impure, all things are impure. What does this mean concerning good? When they see good, it's impure to them. That's how it applies. It doesn't apply the way the natural man is speaking and saying it applies. When evil comes someone's way, it doesn't apply. Evil is evil. It's impure. Now, this is when good comes someone's way, when they see something good, it's impure to them for real. The works of the Creator are impure to them. Therefore, the evil is evil and impure. It doesn't like the evil coming its way, but it does that to others all day long. But it doesn't like the evil done to itself. No, it doesn't. But when good comes its way, it hates that even more, or at least the same, at the very least. So then everything is impure. The wicked is impure. The good is impure. It hates everything in the heart. Acting like they want you to do something for good, and then when you actually are able to do it and he gives you some kind of good to do, then the same people that wanted something or whatever asked, you can see spiritually, discerning that they hate it, that they don't like what they see now. They only acted like that because they weren't wanting the real thing. They're confused. They're in the delusion, wanting to control you or some other intention. And it's real nasty to see. And yet that's what has to be seen, because that's the reality. Then when good is done, they're very more than disappointed. They don't want to see the works of the Father, and it's very strong judgment when someone sees it. It's like just bringing out, there's no excuse now. How come you don't do good? See? So especially when the works are done, the Father's good works, it lights someone on fire because they're not doing it and they don't want to. They see something about it, and it just hates it. It's not seeing what it needs to see, but it sees the works and it doesn't like it. It doesn't like the good works. It never believed anybody did them. And it's not of self, but it's going to have to claim it's of self so that it can condemn you as prideful and selfish, just like itself. It never seems to remember that when that evil is done, they're condemning themselves. They're guilty of that thing themselves. How can't they see it? No, it forgets. Someone forgets. Every minute, a minute goes by, they forgot they did that evil. It's like it never existed, and that's for real. I've seen it too many times. I know it's the truth. It's as if it never even happened. It's gone. But remembering someone else's evil forever, though, isn't that partial? Isn't that proving something? What's it proving? The heart doesn't want to see its own sin. Therefore, because of that, the Father gives them, through a delusion, a judgment, so that it disappears from them. They get what they want, go blind. Is that what they want, to go blind? But then it wants to remember other people's sins and evil towards them. So it does remember, and it's a punishment too, because then that's only going to be death and wrath, and no forgiveness ever. It keeps it. It remembers all the evil. The Father forgets it, not because he has a disease, because it's called forgiveness when someone repents for real, and it doesn't come through any other way. Those sins are forgotten when they're repented of, and it's a constant truth. It's not, where do we read you do this once? Where is that? And we could read about the opposite all day long. I know we can. I know that's the truth. And plenty of scriptures to teach that this is not something we do one time in a religion, and now we're cleaned, and it's creating the image of the true, a good image, a nice picture. But if it's doing that intention to create and look like something, that means it's not doing whatever it really means in the heart. And I think I said that in the last video or two. If someone's trying to look righteous and look like a certain image, that means they're not doing what those words actually mean in the heart, because they're doing, I'm trying to look like something, which is not the real thing, which isn't his truth in someone working. It's looking like the image of something. And so then that image of the beast doesn't seem to go away. It's connected to everything, but so is all the rest of his truth. And it's a powerful truth because it involves and is connected to everything, the image of the beast. But that doesn't mean his word is disconnected somewhere else. It's not something like you think about once or twice. It starts, that is the truth. It's constantly true and constantly happening. But see, if someone gets in the heart to believe that this thing is like only some carnal understanding to come someday, how is it that they're learning what it really means? If that doctrine is some kind of deception and carnal worldly thing to come in the future, physically or something, and that's the only understanding, how is it that they're learning what it really means? How is it that they're overcoming real sin if they don't see anything except the deceptive doctrine, carnal? They're not. That's what it really means. So then this is happening a lot all day long in religion. This is what it does with doctrine. It's deceptive. we read Messiah says the leaven of the Pharisees. The leaven is representing the corruption that grows within someone. And once it starts little, it will keep growing unless it's purged out. That's a judgment. That's a spiritual truth. In fact, it will keep getting worse unless it's purged out. Does someone want it to be purged out? Are they praying that this yeast is purged out so that this corrupt bread doesn't grow within someone in an oven? You know, a woman takes some leaven, it's 3 measures, and does the work, and in darkness, and it goes into the oven and it grows, and it's fully lumped. Either someone's going to be perfected or fully lumped in corruption at the end of their life. One of the two for sure. That's the truth. One of the two for sure. No in between, no escaping it. One of the two. Either someone's waxing worse and worse, like we read will happen to people. Man will wax worse and worse. That's always true spiritually. Needing to see what this is. And the world is waxing worse and worse, even literally. That's true too, but that's not the truth for our heart, though, because that's the outwardly. That's like the world. That's a truth for the world. This is speaking firstly and mostly within the person themselves will wax worse and worse. And that means the sin will be worse. That means they'll be more hardened. They'll be more to the perfect, complete evil at the end, which is death. And the end of that is death, like we read. So if someone wants life, then we need to ask for all of these things for the good. But someone in sin continually, in unbelief, won't ask for any of the good things like Messiah teaches to do that are not vain words. If someone doesn't ask, it won't come. Do they teach that? I thought they do that in this world. You got to ask to receive. Ask for bread, ask for a better deal, and then smile and say, ask and thou shalt receive. And they smile and go out the door thinking that they understand the scripture, applying it to worthlessness that doesn't apply. There's a truth to that too, but that's not the truth, though. That's not the spiritual truth. That's not doing what that means. Some worldly thing, ask and receive. But I've seen that, and people will do that, and they'll take pride in that. I know they do. And maybe even have a faint smile or something and say, and then just quote scripture right there. See, because you asked for some literal product or whatever, a better deal. If you don't ask, you won't receive. You definitely won't receive. Maybe they can even say that doesn't mean you'll get something, but if you don't ask, you won't receive. Yes, that's what Messiah is teaching. If someone doesn't ask, how will they receive? This doesn't prove the Father's not sovereign. What kind of nonsense is that? Someone has to get past that carnal evil that someone's trying to suppress in them. Anyone that's trying to teach the Creator isn't sovereign is doing evil. It needs to be said. They're not understanding what that is. Not understanding and seeing all these different truths that he gives and teaches to see how it's true without contradicting. We read that for a reason, to fear him. Why? And they'll stop in religion. I've seen it so many times. They use that verse and they very often like to stop it when it's the same breath. It shouldn't stop. It stops and then inserts hell. It reads that verse wherever it is, Philippians. I don't know exactly right now, but it's kind of a known verse. Something to fear the Creator. How is it said? Because they like using that for the evil fear. They love that one. I wish I knew how it was said now, because they use it for a reason. There's a reason because of how it sounds. Something about then fearing him, and then they stop and they'll do something else, like hell or something, and try to put that cowardly fear in you so that they can control you. They're doing that. They want to do that. They lust for it every day. It's the truth. And someone that softens the blow on evil done is one with evil. They want to support the evil and say it's good and okay. No, it's not good and okay. It's being done. It needs to be said, speak it out, speak the truth out. Don't suppress it. Don't they read in his word? Cry out, speak the words, speak the truth. People need to hear. It's part of how he works too. The lies are destroying people. It is affecting them in there. It's keeping them dead in there. It's constantly suppressing them nonstop. It's really affecting them. Therefore, the deceiver is doing a greater sin that's deceiving many than the ones that getting deceived. It has a greater sin. Part of the punishment is to deceive more. People don't understand how his judgment works. He hands them over to their sin so that they go in more death. What's more death look like? Controlling more people, deceiving more people. What does he do then? He hands them over to their sin so that they do what? So he takes away more restraint and power that was already there a little bit, carnally even. Everything comes from above. Every good gift comes from above. Hey, that actually means every, church world. And they have a problem with that word. Every doesn't mean every, many doesn't mean that. Not caring, not discerning. It's being partial with his word. And when it does mean all, they say it doesn't because they don't believe in the Creator's plan. They don't believe in his good at all. And when it doesn't, then it's the backwards thing. Every good gift comes from above. Even the carnal gifts, even the restraint of the beast is a gift, but it's not being appreciated. Because if it was just loosed, someone would go out and kill and rape people. That's why it happens, because it was loosed. Strong judgment came for reasons the Father knows. And you can be sure that if someone does that, they did a lot of sin to finally get there. Yes, they did. That doesn't mean we know their life in every perfect detail and all this nonsense that the Creator alone knows. But that's part of how his judgment works. They didn't do good works and were just innocent people before they started killing people. They got there for a reason. And if someone doesn't believe that, then that will have no actual fear for the Creator, because cowardly fear will keep someone from having the true fear of the Creator. It will keep someone from that. Because if they believe that's what fear is in their heart, how on earth can they understand or have what's real when they believe that's what it is, when they read the word fear in the scripture, tormenting and taunting and trying to get someone afraid of the power they have to burn people alive forever, as if that's going to fix someone. How is that going to fix someone anyways? He's able to do good works for for those that believe and actually change their heart. Sinners that never did anything good for it. Believer never did anything good, never did any good work for it. That's why it's called grace. That's why it is his favor, mercy, gift. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a gift if it wasn't for real. A gift is receiving a gift. Boom, here's a gift. If it's not his way, freely giving, which is a gift, it's not a gift anymore. It's a deception that has evil intentions. That's why it gave you a gift, because it wants to do evil to you if it's not the true. If it's not the true, then that's what it is, evil. That's it, some kind of evil. What it is has to be discerned, but it's evil if it's not the good gift. How is it that everyone has received this gift for real right now, and now they need to take it? This is foolishness. It's not understanding his truth. This is not some kind of game for 5-year-olds tossing his word like it's worthless everywhere. Everyone's received the gift, and yet all this evil's being done. So that makes believers like extra prideful and special in a sick way, doesn't it? Which is what they would like to imply. That's why they didn't believe in Messiah. They killed him. But the Father rose him back from the dead, literally. But is that the spiritual meaning for us? No. If some sick person diseased with every spiritual disease, died and was raised back to life with nothing else except that, he would live the life of death again, and it would do him no good. He'd live 2 lives of death instead of 1. Does that mean the resurrection is a lie and worthless? No, it's in its place. That's not the spiritual resurrection. That's not the wake up, oh sleepers. It won't do anyone a good right now to say that's the only meaning, of which I don't see belief in because of other doctrines and what their works are in there. I don't see any belief of that for real. Because that, how do you resurrect an immortal soul? Has anyone asked in there? The soul that sins shall die. That applies right now. If I sin and do evil, the wages of sin is death. The believer needs to learn that. Unbeliever doesn't believe that. He mocks at sin, taunts and mocks. He plays with it like a drag doll. Sin? It's nothing. Oh, you bring up something and it laughs in your face. It's destroyed in its life. That's why it's got all these problems. That's why it can't hold a relationship, and et cetera, forever. All these problems and all the death within, and it mocks at sin. It doesn't think that because it sins, it's in death. And bad things happen to someone. It doesn't believe that they happen because of the sin so often. With understanding that sometimes there is an understanding that something didn't happen because of some specific sin. And then someone tries to pick one of these 2 things when they're both true and apply. It applies sometimes, not always. And same for the other truth, not always. It has to be discerned. They both are true. When the natural man can't see what either of them really mean, he acts like he picks one and cancels out the rest of his word by picking one thing, and then tries to tell you that his word contradicts right in your face. I've had it happen again today. You bring up some kind of truth, and then they bring you a truth in scripture. Supposedly that's what they're doing. They bring up something. Why did they do it? To throw down what you just said, to contradict it, to say it's not true. That's why they just bring it up. What about this? Yeah, but God's wrath though. But God's wrath, as an example. And then it just swallows in what? It literally teaching from their heart. It believes this in the heart and is telling you and doesn't see it, that his word literally contradicts. It's what they really believe in their heart, and the works prove it. When they bring up the scripture because they didn't like what they heard, to try to throw down what you just gave someone is proof that they literally believe that contradicts and cancels out its own self. Only the devil's works does this. Only the kingdoms of the beast does this. I wonder what they're speaking out of. From where do they speak? From its own self, which is nothing but lies. And when the devil speaks, it speaks of itself, of its own self, empty from and void from the creator. Therefore, it's nothing but lies. And it speaks out of selfishness, always defending self as the highest and only important priority in life. Is its self-preservation of that old man, defending it spiritually to the bitter end. The very thing they need to lay down. That's why we read Messiah laid down his life. So now this is required of believers. Does that sound like a carnal command to someone? When it's not, kind of sounds like it, doesn't it? Require. And then you use that word, and it's only seen evilly when you say required. It's only seen by whatever someone understands and has been taught in the church world. It hears the similar word and it thinks of the evil only, the carnal command and all of that. Nevertheless, it's required. It is true. A believer lays their life down every day, dying daily, we read. I die daily. How do you do that literally? Isn't that a clue? There's a lot of clues in scripture for the understanding for what it's not. And they don't see any of the clues. They don't see the clues. There's a lot of clues in there. It's like right in everyone's face. How do you die literally daily? That's some power to just resurrect yourself like 50 times, 1,000 times. I died, came back to life. I died, came back to life. Someone killed me with a sword and I came back to life. Those are true words. It's just not carnal, it's spiritual. And the old man does need to die daily until he perishes. So then there's a truth where it sounds like he's dead, but you've died in Messiah. You've died. It sounds like it's done. He died. No, it's not the truth. That's how his truth works. You have to sound like you're contradicting to bring out another truth so often. And it's not contradicting. That is the end of that way. You have died in Messiah. What do we say now? That someone hasn't died? That believes for real? You have not died in Messiah. You are fully alive in the beast. You haven't died at all in Messiah. That's not what you say. You say you've died in Messiah. Know this. And that's the edifying, the warning, the reminding. This is the way. Now, but he needs to die daily until he's fully dead, though. He's not dead in one day. And yet those words are still true. You've died in Messiah because the meaning is not what someone's implying, because they would like to do that to you, to anyone. They would like it to mean the contradicting thing so they can say, oh, contradictor, while they are doing that right in that moment. They contradict his word all day long. I've never seen anything else from the religions, other religions too, not just, the harlot. It's not as if these other things aren't a harlot too, but it's very specific. It's those that use his word and say they believe in Messiah, and the Creator. They do this with his word constantly. It's not watching. It doesn't care. It doesn't see that it contradicts. It doesn't believe it's doing that because there's no care or love in the heart yet, even for his word. That's why someone does that continually, because there is no care. It really is void, cold, like a stone, dead. There's no care. And that's something that'll be constant to see in people. There's no care. You have to, you have to pretend to care when you don't have care, so as not to look like, so as not to look like you don't care. As soon as someone pretends to care, they don't care. How can people see this? That's not care, pretending to care. And you can't just muster that up. That has to come from above, the truth, anything that's good and true. Every good gift comes from above. It doesn't come from self. How does someone get their heart to care? Just, I care today. Liar. You can't do that, neither can I. That applies for me just the same as anyone else. And yet the Creator can get someone to care. See, just speaking of the natural way, the natural man, and what he's doing and why he's doing and what he thinks and how he thinks something works, that's what's no good. Someone can't just write the law in their own heart and be God Almighty, Elohim Almighty. I wrote the law. I keep some law I made up. Mix it with the Creator's laws, thinking it knows what it means, and then following its own rules, its own slavery to its own rules. That's why killers have to come up with games and rules. Has anyone ever asked why they play these games? Why don't they just pull out the gun and kill the guy when you could do that so often? And the guy ends up dying because he didn't do that. How foolish is that? Even in the evil, it doesn't make sense. Kill him. And I'm not saying to do that. I'm not saying someone does this, that's evil, but I'm trying to bring something out which is going to contradict outwardly elsewhere. To bring out something, it contradicts something else outwardly. Sounds like it, looks like it. Just kill him, you idiot. What are you playing this stupid game for? Just kill the guy. You snuck up on him. He's not even, his back is turned against you and you die because of some game you play. You could have killed him. What's the difference? You're just a murderer. You've already killed a bunch of people. Kill them already. That's what I'm trying to bring out, the foolishness of it. Why does it have this crazy game it wants to play and says so openly? This guy doesn't know how to play this game. And then they play the game. Let's see if you do God's rules. Let's see if you choose the right answer, of which there's only one. Therefore, I'm not asking you to question. I'm controlling you with my gun. Will you do this for me? And the guy does it for him. And it was for his benefit, some carnal benefit. And the guy goes, you picked the right choice. And he spares that person's life, or he doesn't. You never know. Just kills them anyways, for doing what he asked. There was no question. It thinks it's God when it does this. It's acting out of the heart as if it's the creator. You picked the right choice. Now I spare your life. I'm in control of this. This is evil, man. This is pride. Pride is disgusting. Someone needs to see that. We need to see that. That pride is evil, and it doesn't make any sense either. It's foolish. It's nonsense, which is no sense at all. Nothing. It's the opposite of sense. Come to your senses, we read, that they may come to their senses. That's not speaking out of trusting self and our natural senses, but it sounds like it when we say come to your senses. When we read that, it's out of the truth. It's out of saying the same words for good instead of evil, which we have every right to do, that this world says you can't do because it doesn't allow righteous works from above. You're not allowed to do that. If you speak those words, it has to be for evil. Not allowed to speak it out of good. Come to your senses. You're not allowed to say that out of no pride, out of not from self, but from the Father. And then that's how someone comes to their senses. You're not allowed to do that in this world. You have to mean the evil thing. The more someone sees, the more revelation is being fulfilled in them, his word. The trees are getting burned up and it's starting to look like what it needs to be seen for, which is fire everywhere and destruction. That's not what the world is going to preach. It's going to say you want evil. Well, we've been set up to look like that. That's how the truth looks to a lying world that has no care or love at all. His truth is a test in itself. If someone will do what's right and loves the truth and speaks the truth, that's what they're going to look like. They'll be hated for Messiah's name's sake. It's a test constantly in of itself, his word. It's tested, it's proven. Like we read, refined in the fire 7 times. His word is true, and all the different truth and witnesses constantly testify that it's true with many witnesses. Isn't that why we read 2 or 3 witnesses? It's established. When it's a true witness, there's proof everywhere. His truths testify to the other truths. Constantly doing that, and someone then knows the truth because it's been given to them. And each individual truth is a witness testifying to the others and the others back to it. And that's what truth does. It's one. It supports itself for good, not selfishness. That's just what it does. That's how it works. Evil is against itself. While it looks like it wants to be one, it can't actually be that. It's just trying to look like it. And each individual lie is a contradiction and stupidity against itself. Therefore, when someone lies, it's going to come back on them, period, where they have to contradict their own lie. And people will spot certain carnal things here or there, or this minister is doing this, and then attack them, because they're just stuck on finding sin on someone. They don't care about doing good or truth. It's just looking for sin in someone and hoping to find it. Where we're supposed to be looking and hoping for no sin, knowing that that's not just going to become someone in one day, but the heart is doing that. Doesn't want to see evil, hoping to see the good, please, even if it's a little bit, that's good. Because if it's from a little bit, that's a good work from the Creator. That's good. It's a good sign. Hoping to see good and then getting disappointed constantly is part of the way because of not wanting to see it and yet seeing it, what we see the most. And that's what makes the way difficult, among many other things. Needing to bear it. They take the stake and put it on your back and walk. You have to see a lot. And it's not going to be what you want to see. When he gives you a heart, then you're not going to want to see all this evil for real. That's a tribulation all of in itself. And they're talking about the tribulation that comes someday. What are you talking about? The tribulation right this minute. For any believer, it is, even if it's just understood a little bit. And it's a small thing, seemingly small, because they can't handle more right now. To them, that's big. Then they'll see that that thing that was small, that they seemed big, was actually small. When it grows up some more, it's going to see that was actually small, but that's all that it could handle at the time. And this is good, because that's how a tree grows. Creation is speaking the truth. A small, tiny little tree, when the wind blows it, it's moving that thing quite a bit. But a bigger tree, it's like just a breeze today can handle it. And the other thing's going swaying back and forth. That looks like something within someone. It's going to be a real tribulation. But when it gets a little bigger, that same exact wind doesn't bother it the same way. That's a good hope. Oh, but here's what's coming. Something that's going to move the big tree and test it, make sure it's a tree. So everyone's going to fall that doesn't believe in falling right now. It's going to be uprooted if it doesn't produce fruit. Be sure, make sure, dig around the tree and fertilize it and wait a little bit. If not, cut it down. Cut that thing down. Cut that wicked tree down. Maybe even curse it after it's finally not producing any fruit. This is a bad tree. What does Messiah say? You'll be able to do this also. Man, that must make the enemy rage. That sounds like evil to them, doesn't it? Yes, it does. These real things Messiah speaks of are real, that a believer is supposed to be given from above truth, power to do good with it, not evil, because man apart from the Creator can't handle power. It'll do evil. That's it. But then now there is a good way to handle the power that he gives. As he gave Messiah, he gives his people power. This is not understood at all, what someone would think just after watching like TV or something, and just an unbeliever suddenly hears power. It's going to think evil and what carnal, wicked power is when it hears this. Can't help itself. It's just the way it is. It's not heard the good thing yet, spiritually, in spirit, not learning. Doesn't believe there's a way for good. Tries to trick you, deceive you. It tells you something, and I say it a lot because that's it. That's not to say someone's not a human. It's not the point. The person or it, and I actually do read that. Someone might not like it if you give them verses back. Do you want to hear Messiah calling a person it? Do you really want to? I don't think so, but it's in there. I wonder if he's doing evil by saying it. It could be evil, or it could not be evil. Someone has to discern, with the true judgment and discernment. It could be either or. Could be someone saying it to try to make someone into mud and nothing and to attack them. Or it could be good with no intention for that. Because what something sounds like is not automatically what something is, but to the world it is, though. That's the image. If it looks and sounds like something, it must be. That's the worldly wisdom. That's stupid. That's not the truth. Just because it is the truth for evil, most of the time everywhere, does not mean it's a truth. That doesn't prove anything. That's how the world works, though. It sees the majority of something, therefore that's how it works. No, it doesn't. What happens when they bump into a believer or something that's not doing that for real? What happened to their truth? If it's not happening to one person, your truth is thrown down. If it's true, it's always applying and true. There can't be a few people in this world now that it doesn't apply to. What do you say with them? Oh, it's a percentage. It's a glitch in the system. That's the devil's kingdoms right there. It's trying to figure everything out. Why is this person sick? Why? It's got its glasses on and its white robe on, trying to figure everything out. Doesn't want to acknowledge it's in a lot of sin. We don't know why it started. We don't know why it went away. They tell you that in the movies, and nobody actually believes it when they see the literal truth in plain sight that the devil mocks its own self. It doesn't believe it for real, does it? Maybe someone is calling to mind and remembering the movies they've seen, if they've seen in the past, and just remembering a little bit of it here and there, that they've actually done that. They told you, they told me right to my face and your face that we don't have a clue what we're doing. We don't have a clue what we're doing. Whatever little we know, that's not what we're projecting. We're projecting as if we know all this stuff, and most of it have no clue for. Maybe just understanding a natural thing here and there. You can give it that, because a natural man understands some natural things, some earthly things. But that's not what they're claiming, though. See, that's not what they're selling. They're selling something different than that. So what does it do? It adjusts the dose. Maybe it's 650 milligrams instead of 625, and that magically awakens someone. Does that remind someone of anything? That's the works they do. It's going to take that and use it for sorcery as a god that has power. I'm in control of this person's life. I changed your dose. Oh, I'll take the dose away from you. You'll be sick again because I do that. I take some powder away from you and you'll be sick again. I have that power. Don't mess with me. You can't come out of my prison that I'm in and want you to be in also. I'll threaten you, which is already evil, which is already a sign that very much wickedness is going on if it's a threat. But who wants to remember that? Who's looking for that? Hopefully a few, because if it's a threat, that's not a good sign that anything else around it is good. Why is the person threatening? Now I got to ask the question, why is Mr. Doctor threatening the patient? Why are they threatening the customer, whatever you want to call it, It threatens because it's afraid of something. No threat comes because of no fear, cowardly fear. It's cowardly afraid of something. What's it afraid of? The truth. That it's not God. That it's not the creator. It's in a delusion in a white robe, cloak, hiding. It doesn't want to see that, so it needs to prove that it's God. How? By believing its own lie that feeding someone powder did something to them. And it will believe its own lie. It will, for real. It needs to, before it ever repents and denies itself. That's what it's running from. That's what Jonah's running from. He needs to die. That's the answer. That's what stops the tempest. The old man dying, that's the answer. The doctor doesn't want to die. He wants to prove he's God constantly by controlling people's medication. I'm a little bit afraid of what I might see, what the Father might give me to see on this, but I need to see it. I want to see it. But I am a little bit afraid of how much I don't see. But that's all right then if we still want the truth. Just acknowledge it. Because how bad is it? I wonder how bad it is. Just see a tiny bit of this maybe only, how bad this sorcery is. There's a lot of mixed up things in fog blocking the truth, but there is a truth somewhere in there that he needs to give us to see. Somehow it works some way, and that's the truth. But the world's already gotten the mixed up thing to be believed, and through the confusion, a lot of businesses can be created to take opportunity of man's confusion and greed. Through confusion, a bunch of business opportunities come up. That's how you can sell something that's a scam to someone, because of everyone being divided. How is it not seen that this is how it works? And the more division there is, the better for business it is. The more confusion and lies, the better for business in this world, because you take advantage of someone that doesn't see something. But maybe they see some earthly thing over here and they're not tricked by that, but some other thing will trick them. That's how it works, because nobody is allowed to boast. Nobody's actually better than anyone. The person maybe sees some earthly deception and claims that's a lie and that's wicked, but they don't see something else that the other person did see. And then they fight each other, thinking, not knowing that every good gift comes from above and that no one can actually boast because of this reality, because of the truth. No one can boast. Doesn't mean no one can boast, see? Doesn't mean no one is boasting. No one can actually boast. There's no reality to it. No one can love money in the heart and love the creator. What is the world doing? It loves money. Of course it does. It doesn't mean that it cannot love money literally. That good thing cannot be done. It means it's not being done in the heart. That cannot is very real. And so that's what it means. No one can boast. The world doesn't care about what looks invisible and nothing to them. Watch me make money and boast, you idiot, and it'll go do its evil. You have to watch it do it. See, that's how the world works. It doesn't see any proof for the truth. It's foolishness to them. That's why we read the Father has made the wisdom of this world foolishness. Who believed it? I didn't believe it. I didn't know what that meant. Zero. Now, if we speak the truth, well, we do evil now for speaking whatever's been given, which is only good for someone that believes and hears the truth. It's for their good, not evil. But they don't want to see the world for what it is, that because it would expose itself. It's all connected like that. It's very deep. The heart of man is a deep well and a deep pit. Who knows what you might find with a little light? Dead bodies, murder, a lot of evil, hiding in the dark, because no one can do evil works without darkness. They need darkness. It's working together for evil to hide its evil works. It doesn't come to the light. It doesn't want to come to the light. It doesn't want to come to the Father, to the Creator, not some man behind a pulpit, not to even a believer with that kind of worship for the image, as if we're in control of someone that's sick. That's what the religion is. It doesn't serve people. It controls them. It tells them what to do. It tells them what to believe out of the intention of the heart. Its heart is doing that. That's what matters, not what something looks like on the outside. It wants to put this cowardly fear in people to control them spiritually. And they're in a prison spiritually. The spirit is in prison. Isn't that what we read? It's not about being in a literal prison. The spirit is in prison. Messiah came to set the captives free from prison, to being a slave to our own sin and obeying the lust of it and unable to come out of it, being captive to the devil, like we read, and the works of the devil, which Messiah overcame. The works of the devil. He crushed the serpent in Genesis. This was never done before Messiah. He was the first. Because what that means is not something the world knows. Therefore, it doesn't see how Messiah is first. It doesn't genuinely see it all. What do you mean he's the first? Let me step on a snake's head. I'll show you. See, I just stepped on a literal snake's head. What do you mean he's the first? Nobody ever stepped on a snake's head before? A few thousand years before Messiah? Are you crazy? Then there's people in certain denominations that literally teach the devil's been destroyed. Literally, that's how they take that. And that destroys people because it's a lie. That justifies sin. It does. The devil's gone. There's no sin. You can't do sin. That's how we use that verse. A believer can't sin now. See, that's what it means. The devil's destroyed. One of the crazier things I've ever seen is someone sitting in a church bench, a YouTube video a while back. And somebody is asking them, there's two debaters, Christian, two guys. The guy on the bench is what he believes this thing that the devil's like literally destroyed, because they read that. Destroying the works of the devil, destroying the devil, that's how they understand that. But the other guy from a Christian, some other guy though, he's debating. He's not buying this exact doctrine where the devil is literally destroyed. See, he's not doing that. That's true. Does he understand himself? Well, I mean, that would have to be discerned. But anyways, they're debating. And he says, so you believe the devil has been literally destroyed, and like, making it clear, like gone, dead, literally gone, dead. And the guy in the bench is like sitting straight up, and he kind of twitches a little because he's lying, because he's under judgment. He kind of like looks a little bit left and right and goes like, and kind of like, yep, like kind of like nods the head, yep, like a robot. I believe the devil has been destroyed. And it kind of looks around like, oh crap, that was horrible. Come on, who can't see this? This is bad. Somewhere deep inside that person, they know they did some kind of evil, but they don't want to face it. That was bad, gulp. And it continues the lie, because what if it acknowledges it? What if it acknowledges that it's deceived about this one thing? The devil's been, what is it going to do to its image? What is it going to do to all its fans and all the money coming in? What is it going to do? It's going to destroy that person's image. Its own people, its own sheep is going to come after him to swallow him up, which will make them look righteous. See, so it's always about the image. That's it. So then he's trapped in his lie and can't come out of it, because he's already built up an image so big where he's starting to get worldly famous, and this has gone out. And the deeper someone goes, the higher they go, the farther and farther away from the truth, and more impossible to come out of it, because the repercussions of that is going to be severe. So then it has to keep on going with its lie, keep on pumping the lie. And if it does that, it thinks it won't be exposed. It's so foolish and blind. This is stupid and evil. And yes, I've done it. Everyone's done it. Plenty of it. Every believer has done it. All their life they've done nothing but that, and it doesn't mean we just instantly stopped all those works the day someone believes. Can't they see that's what his word teaches? Where does it teach that you just become perfected in one day? I can't find it. How will the world use that? How can it use that to say you're justifying sin? Using the actual truth and saying now you justify sin for saying someone won't be perfected in one day. Oh, so you believe you're perfect then? Trapped. It's over. What are they going to say next? You just proved in your heart that you demand perfection, literally, and you believe you are already perfect by doing what you just did to me. Can someone see how that proves it? That's the works right there, proving what someone's heart thinks. It's proof. Fathers, the truth is not stupid. It's full of proof. Test and prove all things. People say that a lot, but when I test whether they test or prove all things, then I don't see it most of the time. Then they run away. Then they attack. Then they never answer. It just pretends you don't exist, which is like, you just get used to that. Need to, for a good way, meaning not to do any evil back, because that'll tempt you to do evil back when someone just pretends you don't exist. They want to do that to you so that they cause a reaction, so that they can get some worship and fame and destroy you. So that gives them an excuse to attack and do evil to you. It wants to do that, and then if you do that, it gets angry that you did that, but it wanted to start something. And then if something were to happen, then it gets very violently angry that it happened, but it wanted it to happen. Then it acts like it didn't want it to happen. It's a literal contradiction in the heart. It really is that real and stupid. It's real. That's the lie. That's the prison in there. It's always like that in there. That's a confusion. That's all mixed up real bad. That's acting like you want something, then you don't, then you change your mind. And we read about changing the mind. And at the right time, it might be funny to someone reading it. He ascribes all this power to his God, we read somewhere, and then he changes his mind. He does such grand big things and claims such huge things and ascribes this power. You can look this up if you want, by Googling it, because often I can't remember exactly where someone, but if you remember a few words though, it does a pretty good job of finding the verses. So that, use Google for some kind of good. He ascribes the power to his God and then he changes his mind. How often do kings of the earth do this? Come on, all the time. They show this a lot too through their entertainment, but it's happening in real life all the time. It just changes its mind. And it's kind of become a known thing in the world, like women change their mind, doesn't know what it wants. Yeah, but that Adam is not guiltless. He does that too. He does that too. You know, try to blame the woman only. I'm not sexist. Maybe they are. Maybe everyone is first. Needs to blame something, needs to blame someone. You gave me Eve. It's your problem, creator. The woman you gave me did this to me. See, it's her fault. It's actually your fault. You gave me the woman. Where did the problem come from? The creator. You gave me the woman that caused this sin for me to do. No, 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 Adam, says the father. You did the sin and wanted to. You didn't do good. Me giving you the woman has nothing to do with what you did. Zero, but you need it to be so to justify your sin, make an excuse for it, and then my judgment comes on you anyways, and you pretend it doesn't exist. Things happen, bad luck, I don't believe in the creator's judgment. This thing happened because of crap luck. That's all, just bad luck. Bad things happen in this world. It's happening everywhere. So then it justifies it like that. That's what the world believes. But it likes karma when evil, that wants to see like evil on someone else. It gets off on it for real in the heart. And then it pretends it's sorrowful in front of you, pretends like it's sorry that bad has happened to you, but actually it's happy. That's why it's pretending it's not happy, because it is happy. That's why it's not doing the real thing. It's not actually sorrowful and not happy to see someone's destruction. It's acting like it's not happy to see it because it's hiding. It is happy, but that requires real spiritual discernment to discern which one is going on, good or evil. How will someone see what looks pretty much the same for an image? Isn't that scary? That's freaky to me. Someone does some kind of good and no one can believe it because it looks just like the evil that the devil's already masqueraded a trillion times over, times a trillion. That's what this world is. It persecutes those that believe. It persecutes the creator, it persecutes Messiah, it persecutes the truth. It does not stand in this world. It's not allowed. Bad boy, no truth allowed. But it's way worse than that. It gets angry at the truth as if it's evil, for real. It'll stand up against it and like, you did the most wicked thing. How dare you? This doesn't stand over here. But somehow it makes itself look good while it actually does evil. It's like a lying wonder or something. It's like a miracle through evil. It's like a spiritual deception and lying wonder of Satan to constantly do this. But lying wonders are coming someday. That's how we hide that that's what we do all the time. Therefore, no one's actually doing lying wonders for real. They just throw it out in the future somewhere to come. It's not true already. We forgot that we read it was and is to come, even about what the beast, the creator, both are true. The creator was, is, and is to come, but so is the beast. It was, it is, and it is to come. It went all the way back to Adam and Eve being bewitched and deceived. It was true. Worshiping its own image, wanting to look good with an evil heart to do evil. And it lusted after the worldly knowledge, the serpent knowledge, which is foolishness. The Father made it foolishness. It's nothing but contradicting foolishness. And thought that it would make one wise. But that's what's happening right now in 2022. Someone wants and lusts for that serpent knowledge and what that false knowledge, so-called that worldly knowledge, Science, if it's the King James Version, which is the word for knowledge. It's not about like science with the back to the white cloaks and robes or whatever. That's not the meaning there. It's what it blames science. It's not science's fault itself. It's man's heart. That's what he's doing. The false knowledge. It's only translated that like 30 or 40 or whatever, how many times every single time except one time at science now. But that just is what it is. Every translation, I'm convinced, has something like that going on here and there. There's not going to be one that's free from it. And this is okay. This doesn't prove the creator's a liar or something. It's nonsense. The understanding comes from him anyways. And when he gives the understanding, then the words we read are true and they make sense and they don't contradict. And then you have peace about it and not unrest. Because when it doesn't make sense, there's unrest, and then which creates a want to go and figure it out real quick and makes you jumpy and hasty, which we read not to be. And then it goes and gets its information real quick, and because it was hasty, it ended up with a lie as a punishment for being hasty, because it broke something, it sinned. So for that hastiness, it receives a lie as a reward by the creator. To get deceived by a false prophet or person, whatever, lying and believing a lie for being hasty. Who's watching? We watch for the great tribulation to come someday. We're waiting, we're watching something out there isn't right. Something out in this world isn't right. And I'm watching for lying wonders to come someday so we can discern the time of the pre-tribulation rapture, of which we don't read anywhere those words at all. They can try to snake it through, and it's not so. We literally don't read rapture anywhere, but it's worse than that. It's what the heart's doing and what this doctrine really means that's the problem. What does that mean for a believer? You escape the tribulation before it starts? If there was some spiritual discernment for why this doctrine exists, for his heart, for what the heart believes, and what happens to the heart when it believes a doctrine like this. The leaven gets inside the doctrine. The leaven of the Pharisees, we read it, is the teaching of the Pharisees, like a parable leaven. Not literally here, but the leaven represents the doctrine. The leaven of the Pharisees is hypocrisy. How much of it? All of it. The leaven of the Pharisees is hypocrisy. That's it, all of it. But we don't see all of it on day one. We just see a little bit. And you just see maybe a little bit of the church world is lying, not too much. Some of the stuff is not right. It's a little bit of sin. Some people are sinners, a little bit sometimes. That's what it looks like in the beginning. And then it grows. Then he gives more to see, and we start seeing that, no, it's not a little bit. It's increasing all the way to everything and everyone. They get that leaven inside someone. And for the heart, it really does this spiritual wicked wonder and sorcery. And it'll believe this spiritually for its heart, that there is no tribulation in Messiah. It escaped it. Therefore, that's their reality. Father gives them. They're not in the tribulation. They're pre-trib. And if it comes, they'll be gone before it starts, 7 years or so, or however, 3, So that means, how does that even work for the truth? It doesn't. But what would it look like? Someone believes in the Creator for real, but in reality, it's a tribulation that's already began. So if you escape the tribulation years before it starts, that definitely means you're not a believer, for sure. But how can the world agree with this? It's not going to say that's what it means. It's going to try to explain what it means. Can't hear it anymore. Can't hear that thing anymore. What do they say the tribulation is? The patience in the kingdom like we read in Revelation. The Messiah, the patience of the kingdom, the tribulation we read of, as Messiah says, keep going for those that have ears to hear and eyes to see. Keep going. And it's the sixth bowl. It's the sixth plague or bowl. And then we read Messiah's word just standing out. If you're reading red letter, then you see red standing out. There's his words all of a sudden. We don't hear anything from like the 3rd chapter, 4th chapter, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and maybe in 15 or 16. Suddenly there's a little bit of Messiah's words. Then there was nothing for a while. Keep going, basically, is what it's meaning. I come as a thief, is what he says. The warning, I come as a thief. I'm coming like a thief. Is this for believers or unbelievers, pre-trib people that believe that? It's a question that needs to be answered, not to me as like a carnal command. This is a question for the heart. Who is Messiah speaking to, believers or unbelievers? Which one? How could he be speaking to unbelievers? In Revelation there, chapter 16, or is it 15? I don't remember. 16, I think. Somewhere there between 15 and 17. Who is that speaking to? We need to know first, because that will determine something after it. It's connected. It's very important to know which one that is first. If it's to believers, then why is he saying I'm coming like a thief to them after the 6th bowl or plague? Doesn't that imply he has not come yet? And that quietness is what will happen, but maybe not for long before something bad happens, before some kind of false thing that they've been taught in the religion. Then the only thing someone can give back when it's not the truth is another lie. Then we're going to question that thing they gave too. If you say this now, then a bunch of other questions will be asked. Then it's going to show that it contradicts all kinds of things over here. Then someone says this, and then that'll be questioned. It's going to keep on being questioned, and the further someone tries to go, they're getting further and further away, and their folly is being poured out. Their sin is being poured out. They're resisting the truth. That's what happens if the truth is being given and someone's not speaking the truth. It can only get worse and worse until someone just goes away finally, and tries to say that never happened, and then just forget all of that and then go back to the false prophets and religion and believe the same lie again after it was tested and proven that there was no answer for, that it was only a contradiction, a lie, exposed. It goes back to believe it. Ask the minister the same thing and see what happens. Test it. See what they do. Put the same thing back on them now. See what their answer is. Don't change it or twist it now. Give it as it was done already. Give it exactly as it was done and hand it over to them and see what they say. Pretty rotten if they do the same thing. It means they don't care about you if they're trying to escape and evade you and attack you, desperately trying to get you to believe them. See, that's what someone that's lying has to do. It needs to look like, it's going to look like they desperately need to believe me. Please believe me. That's what they'll do if this were to happen. This could be tested. They're not just words. You could go and test this. Anybody that happens to hear that doesn't believe this, that doesn't believe, like, does it really hate religion or something? Like an unbeliever exposes in its mind religion, says some right things, acts like it hates it or whatever, but then when it hears the truth, they stay away. They don't want to go and prove that, do they? It's really strange to me. The same people that are not in religion that expose it and attack it, looks like there's enmity there between the harlot and beast, but then they don't want to actually prove it or see it. They just made themselves look like it. Why are they acting like they hate religion then, or exposing it? For the same reason everything else is being done, to cover self and make self righteous, to make it look like it has truth. That's the only way an unbeliever can make itself shine, which is not the true light, is by just attacking something else and exposing it by stripping someone's clothes, and then the person flees in mark and runs out naked and everyone's laughing at the person. You know, all of a sudden we read something in there that stands out that doesn't seem like it fits, because maybe it's not supposed to fit. It stands out for a reason. All of a sudden we read something about a guy getting his cloak stripped and he flees naked out of the blue. That's how I see it. It was out of the blue to me. You read, and next thing you know, some guy's fleeing with the cloak stripped from him. And then, like, that's it. Just his truth, he just gives the truth. That's it. There's something about this where it's just the truth. This is what happened. Here it is. Here's the truth. And what does it mean? Why would that be written? Why is that written? You know, to be funny only? No, not only, that's for sure. There's a reason. It's happening constantly. That's what it looks like for a picture. This is what evil does. It looks like that. It's a picture to the spiritual meaning of what the heart's doing. The only way an enemy can expose someone, and when it can't do the real good thing, it can't do the good thing in the truth, which is light actually exposing darkness. And it really does that. The light really does that to darkness. It's what light is. It does that. Darkness trying to masquerade like the light, messengers of light, like Satan masquerades. So all his people and his ministers, like we read. The way to look like that for an image, the only way it can do it apart from the creator, it's not light. Darkness is not light. So how does it expose someone? How? How do you look like you expose someone if you're in darkness? You strip their clothes off, which is evil. And then you point the finger and say, gotcha, you're evil. And you want to see that. It's all evil. That's the world right there. It looks like someone's being exposed to someone that can't see at all. Therefore, if good is happening and truth is exposing lies, the enemy will claim you're doing what it does, which is stripping someone's cloak off. They don't see a difference between good and evil. They really don't see it in their heart, but they believe the lie that they know good and evil already, and that they're gods, like the serpent said, like the enemy said in Genesis from the beginning. You shall be as Elohim, and you will know good and evil. For what? For sinning. So someone actually believes real sin in the heart makes them know good and evil for real, when it's a lie, it's a trick. That's the worldly serpent knowledge that it's going to know, which is the literal evil, confusing, no knowledge at all. It's a trick, is what it got sold under sin to the enemy. It's pretty powerful. They don't strip. They don't laugh and point at Noah. They walk backwards, which is covering. The other one representing, the one that's cursed, representing the unbeliever, the one that did evil there. It's a strong judgment to do that evil. It's why we read curses come on him. Even goes down the line through generations. But maybe it's like just the DNA problem, and that's it. Just a little bit of truth somewhere in there, and then trick it to get to believe that that's it. That's why things happen. DNA, and that's it. Nothing else, just DNA. Now these judgments and blessings and curses are all fake. We're God. We tell you what happens and why it happens. DNA, that's it. Nothing else, not the creator, nothing. Just DNA, that's it. It gives you a little bit of a mixed bag to draw someone in and believe the lie that has some kind of truth somewhere in it, where there's something true, something in there. That's what the devil's works is. So that you believe the lie, that it's that the creator doesn't exist or that his judgments don't exist completely, so that that lie is believed. When truth is given, someone will realize that they lack faith, that you need more because it's truth. Because now we're starting to end up like the disciples, you of little faith. It's small, and you start realizing it's pretty small and pretty bad. All the unbelief is pretty bad. It needs to get better. If someone demands perfection on day one, that's how you destroy someone. There's no reality to it. If someone runs away from that truth and justifies sin, that's how you destroy someone. So where's the way in the middle that's really narrow, that doesn't have these two things contradicting each other? It looks impossible. There's no way unless it's given. There's no way unless it's given. So someone would have to ask for a way to see the spiritual way that goes right in the middle, that doesn't contradict two things but keeps both of them, and not picking one or the other. Picking one or the other is the sin. It's not keeping either by doing that. It just thinks it's keeping one thing, the good and evil on the tree. That's why it does that with his word so much, because it only sees the one thing and it picks one of the contradicting sides. And then after it picks a side, it thinks that's the truth, and therefore it does away with the other side, which is contradicting and destroying his word and destroying its own self spiritually. And it's a perfect contradiction because it doesn't see the way, it doesn't see the truth for any given thing. When it does that, that would require, like, wow, I don't see. I literally can't think of it myself. It has to be given. Who actually believes that? Not just said. You go out and sit on the church benches, and some minister is saying something about giving and doesn't understand the giving at all. It doesn't mean what it sounds like it means. It doesn't. It just looks like the person believes and understands what they say when they talk about giving or something in there. The works will prove whether they believe it or not. When someone contradicts, it's proof what they really believe. We read expose those who contradict, because that's a pretty massive thing to constantly do with his word, contradicting it. It means they're in sin constantly, if that's all they ever do, constantly. Contradicting his word is a sign that their life is in sin. It's a proof, because if they don't understand his word, which pertains to life, and it's not understanding something at all at any point, they aren't keeping what those words mean for the heart. It can't, because it doesn't have the knowledge. It cannot keep what it doesn't know. Therefore, contradicting his word is proof of sin in a believer or an unbeliever. But it's actually true for a believer too. It's just that we need to get the answer and grow. Whereas an unbeliever stays like that way and gets worse and worse. That's the difference. All the difference in the world. But people won't see that like that in this world. What does this doctrine over here have to do with my sin? Everything. They just didn't teach you that in there, did they? Yeah, they lied to me too. They lied to everyone. They didn't teach you that contradicting his word is proof of sin in the heart continually. It's definitely that. It's at the very least that. Even when understanding comes, it's still, the works have to follow. It's not like boom, it's just perfect still. Even with the knowledge, let alone no knowledge, it's definitely proof of sin constantly. Absolutely. Don't they say in this world that you can't do anything without knowledge, and speak that as a wise thing? How do you fix what you don't have any knowledge for? Go fix this thing, go fix this, whatever it is, machine, engine, some motor, whatever it is. And the person literally has no knowledge. How are they going to do it? There's no way to do it. And guessing is not truth. If you end up guessing one thing right out of 1,000, that's not proof for knowledge, but someone will sell it as proof for knowledge. That's what they do. They're tricksters like that. If they can find one thing that looks like what they're saying, that's what they'll put on the TV and sell it. And it's a trick. It's just something that happens to end up being true because that's how this world is. Something will end up being true. It just will be. And then it sells it as if it's knowledge, as if it's doing that on purpose, and it's a trick. It just happens to be so, and it uses that thing that happens to be so to sell that it's always this or that, and that it did that on purpose and did this on wise thing on purpose. People do this all the time, like they say something, and even the ideas, where do they come from? And someone thinks, oh, they had some great idea or whatever. They say something stupid though, and they're embarrassed for real. That's what's happening in their heart. When they realize it, then someone goes, they see an opportunity because it ended up looking like something. So once it sees that opportunity, oh, I could just say, I did that on purpose. I planned it. And then it literally believes it's wise. It has to believe it's wise, and then it planned it, and it's no profit at all. It's just creating and making things up right as the minute passes, all on its own, apart from the creator. And then it needs to sell that. And sometimes it's more of a joke, and sometimes it's more serious. Both exist, but people will laugh because it's sin. It's a lie. That's why they're laughing. They don't know why they're laughing. Like, yeah, right. But then when it does the same thing in that situation, the one that laughed does the same thing and needs to believe the thing it laughed at. Now it believes that stupid thing. Now it believes it. Now someone believes what they laughed at, don't they? It does the same thing itself. It's not overcoming it. It laughs at itself. And anyone that puts a knife in someone's heart puts a knife in their own heart. Anyone that destroys flesh destroys themselves. We read that in Genesis, I believe. And the judgment is strong. Lamech 777. Is it 777? That's real interesting. Why does the world seem to have a fascination with that number and casinos and worldly things everywhere? It's not a glitch. It's happening everywhere. It's pretty common because he thinks he's wise. He thinks he knows what it means. He's doing what Lamech did. He's a murderer. He killed someone. He's going, I killed someone. The judgment on me is 7 times, whatever it was. And there's some truth in this, but he doesn't really believe it in the heart himself. That's why he killed someone. If he believed it for real first, he wouldn't have killed someone. Now he has to just make it look like he believes something when that's the only escape to look good. It's just interesting that he's lived 777. I think that's the right name. Forgive 7 times 70. The prophecy of Messiah to be born. The 7 times 70, the Daniel. Righteousness would be set up. The kingdom would be set up. But if someone isn't seeing the reality of the kingdom already, what happened long ago, then it's only to come someday, and that they don't live in the kingdom now. They're outside of it. They don't believe because they're saying it's coming someday out of not being real right now. But then they'll go somewhere else and speak of it as if it's real. That's what's happening. Always doing that kind of work. Contradicting all the time. Proof and spotting lies and glitches constantly, because that's what happens when someone lies. It's going to get caught, and nothing anyone can do about it. If it's a lie, it's going to get caught. And at some point, it's going to go against its own self. It just works out that way somehow, like the creator made it to be so. That's why it's so, not because there's some mystical thing, just luck, It's always like that. It never fails. So lies go against its own self, which is a contradiction. That means it doesn't actually believe the words it's saying for real in the heart. It just needs to believe them. It needs to believe them to cover something, but it doesn't actually believe them as of true belief. The belief we read about doesn't have that belief. It just looks like it needs to look like it believes something. It gets real confusing without seeing anything. It already is confusion without sight. Bad. All right. Let's watch some football now. Enough of that. And try to forget everything. Drown it all away. No, that won't fix anything. But it's a strong temptation that it will. It's a lie that it will, but it won't. It'll just get worse. It'll get worse in the religion too, because it's the Pharisees and Sadducees and the same heart, the same people. The heart's the same. And Jerusalem is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. It's pretty strong words. What does it mean? See, there's traps everywhere for those that don't have truth and don't speak truth. They don't have answers to 10,000 things. That's just a number. I don't know the literal number. Many things. There's traps everywhere. They won't talk about it. They'll just act like it doesn't exist in his word. How are they going to say what it means? And if they do, what are they going to try to say? That it was literally just a few people and just blame it on them. Jerusalem is just a few people. We're better now. We changed now. We're different now. The religion is different now than it was before, somehow. Even though man's heart is all the same, how is it different? Well, it just is somehow. We're not them. I won't be like that. I won't be like daddy. I won't be like mommy. What happens in reality? It ends up just like that. It just told itself a lie. Its intentions aren't right. And it ends up just the same. Even the similar image. It needs to be separated from all that sin and generational sin as it goes down to the fourth generation. And it keeps cycling like that. That means it's always true. It's always connected. Pick a spot and then it's 4 generations. Pick that spot, it's 4 generations until you go back to Adam and Eve. The truth is always working. What does it look like? What does the perfect thing look like? Well, the creator sees it, but see, we're supposed to be learning it, supposed to see the truth and see how it's working for real. Learn it, which is to grow and get bigger so that it can see more. That's what happens when a tree grows. It sees more. It's higher. But if it's no tree at all and it says it sees, how will it ever see when it doesn't see? It calls not seeing, seeing. That means it'll never see as long as it believes that. So that is the judgment. We read, this is the judgment. Those who see will be made blind. Those are blind. Those that are blind will see. Sounds contradicting. It's not. It's because those that are blind that acknowledge the truth that they're blind will be healed, will start to see. And those that say they see while they're actually blind will stay blind and not be healed because they say they see. This is the judgment. Messiah says, I came. This is the judgment. That just included everything right there, kind of like the word love. It goes all back to that word. Well, so does this judgment. That was everything right there. And yet his word is so big. It doesn't just say, love your neighbor, and this is the judgment. the end. And if it's not that, then there's a reason why it's not like that. There's a reason for everything. With the Creator, there's a reason for everything. There's nothing that's just, oh, no reason at all. Why'd you ask me this? No reason. Liar. When someone tells you no reason, they're hiding something already. Something is hiding, which is a sin. It means it's lying to you because there's no such thing as no reason. That doesn't exist. I did this for no reason. No reality to that, but that's so often what people's answer is. Because if you ask the right question, you'll catch them maybe. Not wanting to do evil to someone. It's just if you ask the right question at the right time for them, it catches them. Like, what do you mean? Why'd you do this? And you really want to know, what is this? And they say, no reason. Oh, no reason. Okay. Yeah. No reason at all. Oh, that bribe. That was a bribe. But no reason at all. It wasn't a bribe, says the person. It's no reason at all. But it's actually a bribe or something, whatever the thing is, whatever the sin is, there's a reason. Not no reason. No reason is literally nothingness. It means they didn't do anything. Someone did something, there's a reason. What a powerful thing to do something and not believe the reason why someone did something constantly, but always lie to self and say it's for some other reason when it's not. And the slavery to sin is very real. That's why this world is cold, because it doesn't have love. That's why it talks about it so much, to cover it has none. That's why it does that. That's the main reason it talks about love, because it has none. It's advertising it to try to cover it has none, not realizing that doing that is the dead giveaway for anyone that can see. Anyone trying to desperately look like something is a giveaway that they have none of that, what they're claiming. That is how he hides. And the false prophets don't want anyone to know how they hide. They want it kept secret so that they're not spotted as people who love money, lust, love sin, love lying and destroying people. That's why they're doing that, because they love it. And they don't want anyone to know. They want the image to be believed and the basket to be handed around and make them money. Get tax deductions, whatever, from the government, not pay taxes, whatever. The world supports their wickedness. That's why that tax thing exists. That's why that's like everywhere, isn't it? Because the world supports evil. Because the intentions of the heart is evil, therefore it supports that. It supports it for a reason. See, if it was actual good, it would just disappear and be gone, poof. It wouldn't be supported in any kind of way, shape, or form by the world. Why? Why should that be so for religion, or that has this benefit, worldly benefit with taxes or something like that? Why should that be so? Well, what's their lie? What's their image? Because we want good for people. It's God's truth. Not to charge. Don't charge us. What hypocrisy that is. It just wants to put more money in its pockets, but it sells something about needing to freely give. Great hypocrisy. It just wants more money, saving money. Not spending money somewhere is saving money. The world says that. So if you don't have to pay the government money, that is more money in someone's pocket. Not literally adding like here's $100. But if you don't have to spend $100 that you normally would, obviously you keep it. You have more than you would have. It's all corrupt. These kings of religion go with the kings of the earth and have meetings with them and commit adultery with them, probably literally very much of the time too, but definitely spiritually. And it fornicates with all the other kings of the earth and it does its evil business deals and just uses people like the garbage they are to them. That's very strong against the image, it's so strong, it's going to hurt. Now those people in there, they're in death, but they don't want to hear the truth either. So that's going to sound very evil to them. But they're in death. But they're fine. Just like we read people would say, they're good. They don't need any healing. That's why Messiah taught the parables. Hello. The 99 don't need any healing. They're fine. It's just the one every now and then that's a sinner that repents. The 99 are all healed. 99% of the world believes and is good. Just one person, one guy in jail every now and then, just the 1% that are real wicked. It's backwards. The 99 don't believe at all yet. They don't need healing because that's saying it out of pride. Therefore, they don't get healing. The one that is lost finally to the Creator by acknowledging they're lost. Now that one person repents because they acknowledge they're lost, therefore they are lost in heaven. The others say they're not lost, but they are in reality. Therefore, the 99 are the many that don't repent in this age. Not the other way around, like I have heard it said, backwards. They just broke all of his word. What do you mean 99 are the many good that repented? That's not reality. The parable is about reality. The many of the world have not repented, and because they don't need any healing, because that's what they say. Many called, few chosen. It's not the other way around. The world is a big place, and the world doesn't believe. The world doesn't see him, doesn't know him, doesn't believe in him. That's the many also. I mean, it's many. It's a mockery from the Father, this truth. There's some mockery in it. It's mocking the stupidity of sin and lies. It's a righteous mockery that is evil to someone that doesn't know, doesn't believe. He taunts the wicked, like we read. He taunts the kings of the earth. Doesn't like that. When the king of the earth taunts, it's out of evil. It's a carnal, evil mockery for someone's destruction. That's not why the Creator taunts, mocks at sin. Doesn't that sound bad? I thought the wicked mock at sin. It's because they can't see the good thing. They just see the evil. Messiah mocked. It's in there. He did it. He mocked at the evil, at the stupidity of sin and evil. Because it is stupid and evil. It deserves to be mocked. But he does it without doing evil to the person. That's the perfect way. That's the impossible thing that we can't do unless it's given, unless someone wants to do what's right and seek the truth. They won't be able to do the good thing. They'll just pretend and act like it, like already everyone is. It's already done. They can't do the real thing, don't see it. They're already acting like they do it. That's why someone that acts only sees the real thing. They get angry at what they act for. I thought you like this. You've acted like you love it all your life. Now you hate when you see the real thing. Why? Don't I look the same? Doesn't someone else look the same? And create the same image. Don't you like that image? You acted like you do. Then they don't like the truth. Because that true image is connected to the actually doing it in the heart, which the false thing, creating an image only, never does in the heart. Never. That's so prideful, man. Where is this pride coming from? It's everywhere. Creation is prideful. Isn't it proving the Creator's truth is true? We see the works for what his word is saying and proof for it. He is ascended to the heavens, standing on the rubies as Elohim, the Creator, in his mind and heart. And he walks up there, but the Creator throws him down, and it's humbled. It's going to be thrown to the ground, and it's dead, and it won't even get a proper burial. It's so shameful. Worms cover him and eat him. A parable and a taunt against the king of Tyre or whatever the city is. They what do? They say it's about the devil, Satan. It's not about mankind. It's not about me. It's the devil. That's the king of the earth. We just insert the devil here when it's speaking about man. Some man, a king in his heart and mind and pride, thrown down. And then they say the devil what? If they keep on reading the word there, they'll see that this devil dies supposedly and doesn't get a proper burial. How come they always skip that part when they teach this thing about Lucifer in those two parables, Ezekiel and Isaiah, I think, famous ones? How come they don't continue reading it to see that the devil dies and doesn't get a proper burial and worms start eating him? That happened to the devil, and people and kings and people saw this devil dead on the ground, and worms are eating the devil. This is foolishness. This is man's heart. It's talking about them, everyone. But see, it can accept something that seems a little true if it's blaming it on something else and not actually accepting that it's talking about them. Then it's okay to say the devil has died. That's the devil, Lucifer, right there. It was an angel stuck up in pride, talking about itself. It's talking about man. Nowhere in the Genesis do we read anything about angels or anything. It's only about mankind and sin. It doesn't say no angel from heaven sinned. Where is it? I remember looking it up specifically just to see what's going on. I think it's 15 times the word angel is used in Genesis, the book of Genesis. Something like 15 times, if I remember right, total. But around the flood, around the judgment, it's nowhere to be found even once, the word angel. Not even once. Nowhere around it. It's other places the word angel is used 15 times total, but nowhere around the flood. Not even once. Somehow that's the angels there that sinned. It's got to be someone else then besides mankind. It's in the doctrine. Like they say, it's in the game. Like EA Sports, it's in the game. Adam and Eve, it's in the doctrine, the sin. And it's hiding it there and blaming something else constantly. It's the angel's fault. Those that are immortal, it's calling corrupt corruptible, or it's calling immortality corruption, and it's calling corruption immortal. It's calling good evil and evil good yet again. It's calling immortality corrupt when we read that immortality is not corruptible, not corrupt or corruptible. Are we doing evil for reading for literally quoting the scripture now that they can read? They don't believe immortality is likened to no corruption, not corruptible, but mortality is corruptible. Sin causes death, corruption, mortal. So what's immortal is not corruptible. There is no sin. Maybe that's why we don't read angels in Genesis there like it's implied and taught. Anywhere we don't even read the word around the judgment. Not even once. But somehow the angel sinned. Where? Where do they even read that? It's not there. Am I going crazy and insane? Is anybody else going insane? Because this is what they do with his word constantly. This kind of thing. Where is it? Can they read somewhere the angels of heaven sinned? No. We do read that the angels cannot die. Messiah's very own words that they cannot die. And it seems pretty obvious to me this is speaking of the messengers of heaven and not on earth, because a person is a messenger, whether for good or evil. So a person is an angel or a messenger for good or evil, but that's not what Messiah is speaking of, is he? That they can neither die anymore like the angels, like the messengers of heaven. So which ones of them sinned if they can't die? The wages of sin is death, shown naturally, but now spiritually causing death. The important thing, spiritual death. So what angel from heaven is sinning if they can't die? I guess Messiah is a liar, huh? Yeah, he's a liar. Believe our doctrine. Messiah is a liar. That's what we really are saying, that he's a liar. We just won't tell you that. That's what my heart believes, someone in there saying. But we won't tell you that in the open, in the light. We do our work through the secrecy in the night, tricking people. We never tell you what we really believe, that we're no different than the rest of the world and hate all good and hate the Creator. We'll never tell you that if we can help it. We slip up sometimes, though, and get caught, even literally. And even then, the people come back to me because I'm God. You know, that's like what's happening. It's bad. It's bad. Somebody like got famous because of the crying face they made saying they're sorry. Something about adultery. I think, well, that's going on a whole lot more than whatever is shown. But it's going on spiritually nonstop. And he's like crying that he's sorry. And the cameras are on him. It's on for the whole world to see that he's sorry. He's sorry for what he's losing. He's not sorry for the sin. It's nonsense. He's sorry about the image that he's losing. It's never going to be the same for him ever again in this life. How could it be? Never going to be what it could have been if it maintained that image. It took a massive hit. It's going to stop the money from coming in like it was. You know, that's a good reason for someone to cry. Not really, but, you know, speaking through the darkness, why someone's crying. I mean, if it was real, I mean, then that would be good. What's the image try to sell? That it's real. That's sorry. What do the works prove? That it's not sorry. Which one should be believed? What the works prove, not the image. Follow the works. Like they say, follow the money, follow the works, not the stupid image. Money is the root of all evil. Or say it like this, the money is the root of all kinds of evil. No difference in the meaning at all. But someone will try to desperately hate his word. You know why they do that? Some that don't like money is the root of all evil. They don't like that because they love money. They love money. So they're trying to find a way out of this in the heart by saying money is the root of all kinds of evil, saying it like a little differently and saying that's how it's said. Because to them, that doesn't mean all. So that's justifying its love of money. It's finding a little bit of room. If it can find even 1% or less, that justified all the love of money for that person. That's how crooked it is. But it's so bad that it doesn't even realize that the meaning is identical. Okay, here we go. Money is the root of all kinds of evil. Money is the root of all evil. Why does it want to believe one over the other so badly? Because it loves money in the heart and tries to justify it. But here's where the foolishness is. Money is the root of all kinds of evil. There's an example where it means exactly what it says.
It's here it is. The money is the root of all kinds, like all the different kinds of animals, each according to their kind. Money is the root of all kinds. There's all kinds of evil. Or money is the root of all evil. Same spiritual meaning, no different. So that was foolish. That was stupid. That just exposed someone's heart. Because if they saw the truth, then they wouldn't do that, would they? What does someone do when that happens? When it gets trapped by the truth, the only thing left to do is hate you. That's it. What does Cain do to Abel? The only thing left that he could do, kill him in the heart. And if the restraint is unleashed, it kills literally. The murder was in the heart first. That's the real sin. That's the heavenly highest thing. The murder in the heart was first. Killing literally is proof of it. It's just utter proof. That's the discernment. In this case, this literal work proves that the person murdered in the heart for sure. How could it not be so? The only other thing is like I swing an axe and it goes behind me and it hits someone in the head and kills them. You know, that's the only exception. And who on earth is doing that? Who's doing that left and right? That's so common. So if the murder's not intentional, but that's not the point though. Someone kills someone, I mean, what's the most common thing? On purpose. But it's being done on purpose in the heart. That's what we have to watch for, to not murder anyone in the heart, including the enemies. That's a lot to watch for, but if we're watching for the day of the pre-trib and escaped all truth in someone's mind, watching for something that isn't true, some outwardly thing to come someday, then how are they watching for the murder in their heart? They'll just quickly say if they hear these words that they are, but they're not. They'll just have to say they are if they heard it all of a sudden, because that's the only pathway to keep your image maintained. You have to lie and say you do know and are. But all day long, when there was no light or truth next to it, it kept doing this carnal thing, which proves that the heart isn't watching and praying for not murdering people in the heart, which is lying to them about the pre-trib, which is murdering people in the heart, because lying is murder. Suppressing the truth is murder. It's destruction for someone that believes it. It's keeping them from life, because breaking the commandments leads to death. If we want to have life, Messiah said, keep the commandments. Lying is breaking the commandments constantly. Therefore, no life, death. Who can go around that? That's too sure. That's too simple and pure. There's no way around it. The only thing left is to just say, I'm not doing it. That's it. I'm just joking. I didn't mean it. Those kinds of things. Those words only work if it's actually true, but it sells that it's trying to make that true. It sells the image. So those words are only good if it's actually true in the heart. Otherwise, it's just an excuse and running and hiding and covering sin. People don't want to speak about what's real because it's comfortable not to, and it's not comfortable to do that. So then smooth words are comfortable, flattering lips are comfortable, even though it's keeping someone in death and unbelief. It believes the lie of this false comfort that's working in someone. And it's just so bad and strong, the deception. It's hard to believe most of the time. And I do believe it, but it's hard to believe, you know. to bring out something. So then now this is an example of not taking this literally, like I don't believe it at all. Just you have to sound like you're contradicting some kind of truth to bring something else out. It's hard to believe. I think that might be it. I know I've seen the strong judgment to those words, though. When when some kind of good work is done, it's a strong judgment on someone's head if we do what's right. Do what's right, and it'll put a coals of fire on their head for a judgment. That's why the apostle says that, because we read it in Scripture. We read it somewhere. She's quoting it, bringing it up. He didn't make that up. He received the truth. Believers can't be making up their own righteousness and their own truth. Messiah's truth is not his own. Thought he's God. Isn't God one? What do they mean by one? Three-headed beast. That's the image of what one is. Three heads on one body. And one head died, but the other two stayed alive. And then the other third head was resurrected. So then you can get away with saying God was dead and alive at the same time. That's foolish nonsense. That's hiding a bunch of sin. It's keeping people from the truth, their heart from the truth. It's guarding and suppressing all that sin, hiding it through the doctrines even. And I thought God is one, speaking under their, what they say, God, God is a Trinity and one, they say. Three in one, but he's one. One God died, two stayed alive. And God says, because they say Messiah is God, they say that. They can't get around it now. You can't backtrack and change your doctrine now. You say that, church world. You say the Messiah is God the Creator, but he's the third part of the Trinity God. Therefore, God, Messiah, his truth is not his own. Oh, somehow the third head of the beast has truth that's not his own, unless they call him a liar. Are they saying he's a liar? No, they can't do that, can they? Can they say that Messiah is a liar? No, they can't say that, because that would expose them openly. So Messiah is telling the truth. He's not lying when he says his truth is not his own. What does this look like now? This is the third head of the beast saying, and it's God fully, saying, my truth is not my own. And yet it's God. But God's truth is God's. But the other third Godhead, it's not his own truth. It's just a different head on the beast. That's how they get away with it. They think they get away with it. That's nonsense. That's contradicting evil. There's no reality to that. It's running from man needing to deny himself and that he's not the creator, like the devil has said, for man's heart and spirit, doing the works of the devil in spirit, the spiritual wickedness in high places. We're not God. We're not Elohim. But they're going to say, you're crazy. We don't say we're God. This is the enmity that's always there, never goes away. It's always like this, like what I'm saying with everything. They're going to say, we don't say we're God. We're not going out saying, I am God. I know that. My goodness, how blind do they put everyone on? They just assume everyone's blind. Everyone just as blind as them. How can't they see we're not saying that? They're going out saying they're God with a voice. I am God, the creator. I am God behind the pulpit. No, that's not what most of them are not. They're not doing that literal thing. They're doing it in the heart. And that's a big deal. That's pride. It doesn't want to go there and see that it's doing that in the heart. It tries to make the definition for something carnal so it can hide and cover up that it does this in the heart. If they can get someone to believe that's the definition of something, then they can say, this is the trickery of the devil. Then they can say, we don't say we're God. When they say that, they're able to say truth through a lie. That's how it works. That's someone justifying a lie, selling truth to make it look believable because they say a little bit of truth here, but it's working through a lie, a foundational lie, a lie from the beginning, a lie from the foundation, the bottom, the beginning, the start. It's lying about and covering up this pride in the heart, and that's where this God is, Elohim in the heart. But it makes the definition to be screaming at the rooftops, literally, I am God. Therefore, it can say, we don't do that. And they would be right, most of them. Most don't do that. Some that go so insane start going around doing that. It's not that it's never happened, but most don't do that literal thing. See, and that's how someone can speak a little bit of truth while they're lying. They're not telling the truth then because the intention's corrupt. And that's what is done with their doctrines. The more I learn and see, the more I see that it's Messiah's words are true. The leaven of the Pharisees is hypocrisy. The doctrines are hypocrisy. It really does say and speak the words, but doesn't lift a finger for doing what any of it actually means. But it does say it. It'll say, it'll speak out of his word, even mention something about the law. But Messiah says, do what they say, just not what they do. Isn't that what the devil takes pride in? Every now and then someone goes, don't do what I'm doing. Like they do a YouTube video and they're doing some literal stupidity and evil. And then they just quickly say, don't do what I'm doing, kids. Takes pride in it. But if someone were to tell them the exact same thing with a little light, they would get angry. But they just said that about themselves because they don't believe it. That's how they could say it. They don't actually believe what they're saying. Don't do what I do. Saying it for some other delusional, corrupt, deceptive intention. And the Father will prove that. Because if you say something out of the Father's Spirit with in truth, and you realize you said the same word someone else did, but now they're angry for what you said, that means they don't believe themselves for real. They don't. How could they get angry for what they supposedly say and believe? That's proof that something's going on in the heart. They don't believe what they say. What is so much better about the religion, anyways, from the rest of the world? What is it that makes it good and better than everyone else? Well, no, we don't say that. Yes, you do, because everyone else is going to hell forever and going to burn forever. So that's pretty strong. That means you must be way better and you must have did something in the flesh way better than all this other flesh. That doctrine screams that you're better than everyone else. Don't tell me you don't say that now. That doctrine is that. It is, I am better than everyone else because burning forever, literally with no end, is strong. It is strong. What is so much better about the religion for this to be so? What is it about them? Because they say a few words and agree to the words that they say and self agree to the words they say and create an image of righteousness. That's what makes it so much better forever to never burn in fire versus everyone else burning in fire forever. That must mean that they're so much better in their heart. And that's exactly what I see in the heart, that it is better than everyone else. If it could see itself, it wouldn't believe that. No, if it could see itself, it wouldn't believe that at all. It wouldn't even remotely. It would become more and more truthful
less and less of that evil. The more it sees about itself, the more it sees it's not better than anyone. Therefore, it can't see itself because it believes it's better than everyone. No, it doesn't take to kill 20 literal people, or to not kill people at all and not rape someone at all and do these literal big sins that are big sins. They are massive. And to not do them doesn't make someone good or better than them. They don't see how this works. Messiah teaches it directly. Even though someone doesn't do those sins, are they better? No, they're not. Not to the Creator, they're better, and that's the only thing that matters. Why aren't they better? Because every good gift comes from above. It's not even from self that restrains that. It's not even self that did that. That's the Creator's literal mercy on someone to not literally kill someone. It makes sense, his truth. There's a reason why we're not better than anyone else, because even this restraint is not even from self truly. That's why we're not better than, because it's true. That's all. That's it. Now the world won't believe that. I know that. It has to believe it's better in its heart. But if once the Creator shows you some things in the heart that we've done or currently did and see, wow, that was evil. No, you won't. You'll be saying what the apostle says, a wretched sinner that's no better than anyone. The chief of sinners. I'm at the chief. I'm at the head, soldier. I'm the worst of all of them. That's what he said. I'm the least of the apostles, he said. That doesn't sound good for his image, does it? Is it false humility? Is that what's going on? It could be, but not for him, not for a believer. Doesn't mean they haven't done that, but he's speaking the truth. He didn't do all of that and say all of that out of some kind of false humility. That's what someone will claim, though, that says he's an anti-Messiah and teach people that he's a lawbreaker and taught to break the law because they don't understand the law. They've never asked the Creator what any of these things mean. Somehow they hate one believer, but love another? No, they don't, because even his literal words literally connected, and it literally connects the ones that wrote down the words. And I've never seen an answer to, but more running, more attacking, because we read Peter, a disciple of Messiah. How could they believe that he wasn't a believer? How? I mean, how much of his word do you have to destroy to not believe that Peter was a believer? A lot, all of it. And he says that they don't believe at all. That's what I've seen when those that do this, they can't believe it. That the Creator, the Father, gave him much wisdom. He says that. And he's a beloved brother. Now Peter's a liar too. This is how they destroy people. That's how you can destroy someone, by saying that his word is a lie everywhere, and these are the reasons and how to do it. Now Peter's a liar, a disciple of Messiah, in a strong delusion, not a believer, doesn't know anything, hasn't learned anything, isn't doing any of the Father's good works at all. He's a liar, a thief, a robber, who's pretending that the apostle's a beloved brother that has given much wisdom to him and said so. He's a liar too. In order for the apostle to be an anti-Messiah, you have to throw away everything about him. Is there more connections with Luke and others? Yes, there is. Now you have to throw away every connection with them too and say they're all wicked liars too. And none of Messiah's disciples are actually disciples because they don't believe believers exist. That's why they're doing that. How much more works does someone need to prove what they believe? My goodness, how many works need to be shown to someone before they believe what the works prove? That they don't believe there's any believers that exist. It's in confusion. Can pretend
people in another world care and love someone and love them. Nonsense. They're not able to do that. Not without the Creator's power and love given. It's already missing. What would there be to even seek if we had it of self? That's stupid to seek the Creator if we already have everything. So his word just becomes a giant contradiction and wicked evil to somebody, and that's what they do to it. And the person getting deceived doesn't realize how bad it's working in them. Before you know it, they just don't believe anything and really are just trashing his word while somehow selling that they believe it when they just trash it only, contradict it only. Strong sorcery. Don't they read that they claimed Messiah was a lawbreaker and a sinner and a demon, has demons, a liar, a deceiver, all those things they believe we can read that they believe, a lawbreaker, just like they believe about the apostle. Oh, I thought Messiah taught whatever they did to me, the servant is not greater than a master, which is coming back to, I think, the title or what I was talking about earlier, full circle. It goes back to Messiah teaching that if this is happening to the master, this is what will happen to the servants then. So it's no surprise they're doing that to the apostle and the other disciples and spreading lies about them that they're lawbreakers and doing some kind of evil, making things up because you have to. You have to start making things up if you can't actually find it. And then believe the lie that you do that because you make it up and say you did. Once you make a false judgment about someone, how can you take it back? You get trapped in the lie. You have to believe that false judgment now. Nope, can't be wrong now because that would look bad and make me look evil if I'm actually wrong, right? So once a false judgment is made against someone that's false, they have to stick with it, even though it's a lie. Even if it's proven a lie to them, they have to stick with it the rest of their life. They can't repent for that one thing in the heart. Justify it, find a loophole somewhere, and maybe act like it took it back, but it didn't do it in the heart. When it does the same works continually after that, then that first thing isn't believable. So that's why we read, you know them by their works. They're so important that we read something about sin that leads to death, but isn't all sin like we do read? All sin is sin and the wages of sin is death. So what does it mean then when we read the sin that leads to death? Isn't that a little strange? Because all sin is death. Could there be a way for this to be meaning something without contradicting that the wages of sin is death and all sin is sin? But what does it mean then when we specifically read sin that leads to death? You don't even have to pray for someone. You could, but it's so serious you don't have to. Not asking. He's not asking someone to. Is that for an unbeliever or for believer, someone claiming to believe? How could it be for an unbeliever? Because unbeliever is already an unbeliever. They're already condemned by the Creator, and that's all it is sin. It's darkness, it's sin. This is someone that claims to believe, and you see the works of certain spiritual works continually with no sign of repentance that leads to death. They're in death, and they're going to just try to destroy you as the only intention when that's the true discernment. They're not a brother for real. You could pray for them, but he says you don't have to. He's not asking you to. That's what we read. Must be pretty serious. That's someone that claims to believe, isn't it? How could it be for someone that doesn't believe, doesn't claim to? It's for someone that claims to believe. Sure, I suppose literal murder would be a bad sign, for a believer, a true believer, literally went out and killed someone, I believe that applies. But the spiritual meaning is to see spiritual works of murder constantly with no sign of repentance. That sin is to death. That's to their death, to their spiritual death. That sin that leads to death. That's what I'm seeing with that. That's for a believer, because that's for a believer to discern. An unbeliever won't have discernment. It's always making things up, and it ends up guessing things right. It just ends up being right carnally about a bunch of things, because that takes no discernment to do that. But this is for believers to discern. Someone can't keep stabbing you with the knife with their heart over and over again with no sign of repentance at all. That's sin to death. And that's not to become one with that. If we become one with that reality, then it's going to stab you to death. For real. Father won't protect someone for becoming one with darkness. You're going to have to get stabbed a few times before we figure it out and do the hard thing, which is separate. See, the devil though wants to get in. Always wants to get in, become one, to destroy someone. Sneaks its way in. You can't do it in the open. Can never tell you what it wants to do with its heart. Has to trick you, deceive you. Can never stand like a man or a woman and say, this is what I want to do. It can't do that, coward. It needs to deceive someone so that it can come in and destroy them. It needs to come in and masquerade like a believer to come and destroy a believer, because it's a coward. It can't say what it wants to do in its heart in the open right from the beginning. Tell me what you want to do. Tell me your intentions. You can't. That's a promise, and it will never happen by the one doing it. Pretty frightening to think. That's a massive darkness and blinding, and it's always happening to those in darkness, and they don't do anything different. They'll do it tomorrow. They'll do it next week, even after hearing true words. Do it again and again. No one can defeat the Creator. No one can match him. Trying is stupid. It's not going to happen. They're going to be outmatched and taken, trapped by his judgment for the sin that someone does. Exposed as a liar, a contradictor, a fraud that only wanted evil, utterly trapped. It's way, way, way deeper than just saying some words. If it wasn't important, we wouldn't read about it. We read about it, that it is important. True teachings are important. So lying teachings are important in that that's no good. It's important to see and know that that's going to destroy someone. And it really does do that. Well, maybe that's all I got right now. What does someone want to see? You know, I'm trying to think if there's something about that right there. What does someone want to see? Does Messiah say that? What do you see? What do you suppose you see? Something like that. What is it you see? What do you want to see? I'd have to check now. I'm not 100% sure. What do you suppose you see? Is it something like that? And then give an example and then say it again and give another example. Say it again. What do you see? Talking to the blind. You don't hear his words. Does people realize this, that Messiah gave freely to those he knew could not hear his words? Yes, in the hopes and belief that a few would, though. A few, those that the Father gives, as he said, those that the Father gives him, then those would believe. He spoke to the dead, the blind, with no requirement or expectations, but a hope. And they didn't believe. Telling the truth right in front of the crowds everywhere, and the many, the most, don't believe the actual understanding he's giving. Something about Solomon, something about this. They didn't know what they were seeing. They didn't know. They wanted to see the kingdom come with some kind of roaring and thunder and mighty goodness crying behind a screen full of emotion of the image it creates in someone's mind. Oh, this is magnificent. Ooh! It wants to see the kingdom coming like that. Well, maybe it will be like that at the proper time, but its corrupt intentions of the heart for what it wants now is corrupt. It's exposing the carnality of the heart. It wants to see some great image, some feel good thing that's sin and easy and all evil, that looks magnificent. You know, the more magnificent it looks, when the masquerade is perfect, the more evil it is. When it's a masquerade, that's the goal. Surely the world will come up with something not too long from now that looks incredibly magnificent in a world that's actually dead. It's going to just swallow up and believe another lie after another lie because it's going to look magnificent. And the devil will say, I love you. We love everyone. We want to feed the hungry, even though that's no reality and it's not being done. But if we show that we do that every now and then, throw some cheeseburger to someone and show a camera out in the desert somewhere, make it look like we're doing that. But in reality, we're not actually doing that. We're keeping them that way. That's what we're doing. We're suppressors and gods of the devil. We only do evil and want more power and lust for control. We do the 1% to make it look like we're doing the 100%. We throw in a little bit just so we could say we're doing it, which is evil, which is not doing anything. And then people believe the image of that 1% and believe that's what's going on. That's what happens when I give to charity. Now, you probably supported a literal rapist and murderer for that money going to charity. Maybe someone should think about charity and instead go and do something in secret when no one knows. How can the devil run a business in a system that actually does completely what it says it does? Trusting in man without any proof. Who knows? Who actually knows what's going on and why this money is being transferred, how much of it, where, for what reasons? Who knows all those details? And yet people will believe it blindly, you know. But each one needs to find out for themselves what to do and what not to do. I don't read of anything about that, do I? Aren't we supposed to do the good works towards someone? How do you do good to 5 billion people all at once? That's the trick. That's the lie. That's for the world to do and take care of. Grab a microphone, pretend to love someone, the easiest thing to do. While you hate them, lie to them, make it look like you're doing some grand good while you're only doing evil and using that for a cover for your evil to make it look like it's good because evil is being done. You're snorting cocaine somewhere with money bags. That's the reality, but that's not a very good image. So then you need to cover it with charity and whatever else lie. The billionaires from bouncing a ball, who are probably some of them, at least some of them, literal killers. But the society likes to do this because that's how it just spits back in the creator's face by supporting evil, pardoning evil whenever it can. Release Barnabas. Nothing's new. It does this all the time. Is it for everyone? No. It just does it. Sometimes this is true. People that have killed and they're out running free. There's people that have killed and they're in prison. Both are true. Trying to pick one and say it applies all the time is a pretty big problem. If it's not the truth, then it's a lie. Who knows who it's true for each individual? Is that what someone's trying to find out? Who's the bad guy? Who's masquerading literally in Hollywood and just keep digging in the bottomless pit for every new same evil? There's no end to that, I found out. So then you just need to start stopping that intention and looking for evil like that, because there's no bottom. That'll be someone's full-time job, looking for evil. And we found it. Here it is. This is hysterical at the right moment. When enough things are seen from above, given to see, and then it just clicks, then it might be hysterical at the right moment. That someone's looking for evil and has found it. Ta-da, I found it. Digging for evil in the dark pit. What else did we expect to find in a dark pit that's bottomless? Just like those fries at Red Robin are bought. Oh, we hate doing this. Gosh, do we have to do this? Is there a way to not give bottomless fries? Because that's just wasting our money. Oh, but if the outcome is more money in the end for doing this, oh, I hate doing this, but it makes us more money in the end, looks like. So I'm going to do that. And then we'll take pride in that and say we're doing good to the people. Yes, we have good intentions for you. Bottomless fries. When you ask, you'll have a problem if you do. A lot of times. And maybe someday we'll take it away when it's not making the money we were making before. Just depends. Can someone see it's not about fries and that literal thing? And it's about the heart. That's not even true. That's a lie. That's a lie that it's bottomless. And that's time to start exposing and calling it out for what it is. Bottomless means endless. You don't say bottomless, you mean endless by it, right? Bottomless means there's no end to the bottom, and bottomless means you can ask for more. So how come I can't eat there all day long, forever, and no restraint? No, they'll restrain you. Then don't tell me bottomless. Liars, snakes. Even if something's tasty, that's going to trick someone. How can't people see that that's a lie and nobody calls it out for a lie? It's not bottomless. As soon as the devil gets away with the smallest thing, it'll get away with everything. Welcome to the world. But it's not getting away for real. It's being judged spiritually. The heart is being judged. But it's looking that way, like the people are deceived and they don't say anything because they don't want to expose themselves. To expose the world is to expose themselves. There's good reason not to expose the world for real, for actual lies and actual evil, because it would expose self. This kind of lie is everywhere. And that's what happens when he opens our eyes. It's everywhere. It's like that everywhere. So many different things are just like that. It's a lie. If someone doesn't think it's a lie, take it easy. It's not a lie. It's a lie. It's not bottomless for real. If there's an end to it, it's not bottomless. I don't care if it's about fries or a pencil or, ball, carpet. Doesn't matter what the subject is. It's a lie. That's what business does. It lies all the time. That's what religion does. Start seeing these lies like crazy. When someone wants the truth, to seek the truth from the Creator, opens your eyes to what was always in front of us, just starting to see it more and more. And watch and see that it's nothing to people. That's hard to see when you care and no one else cares around you. Yeah, that's difficult. You'll see the proof of the Creator's word true, where someone doesn't actually care about real lies at all. They don't. Only in situations where the image looks like it's lying. then it's going to act like it cares because its image is being exposed. It needs to look like it's not lying if there's people seeing and watching, but it doesn't actually care about lying in the heart because it does it all the time. A masquerade is a lie continually. You know, the picture is put on a mask and be something you're not. That's a deception and lie 24/7. That's a lie 24/7. Who believes it? Masquerading as a messenger of light is a lie 24/7 to self and to others. It gets deep and it's connected to so much. It's so sly, so good, the deception, tricky in that way. The way they put it together, master deceivers, which reminds me of a phrase, master something, master, oh, master of disguise. Yeah, master of deception and evil. Clowns. I guess that's why Halloween is important. Hallowed be thy ween, and wear a mask and be a monster. You can kind of unleash the beast legally, where everyone won't really, they'll let it go even if they don't like it so much. Not doesn't fit their image. Halloween, stupid Halloween. That could be so for some people. For some, however many, it doesn't fit their image. They don't want to look like a monster because that's not the image they sell. It's not quite the same, so that bothers them. But they'll let it go because it's the whole world's like, oh, this is okay. It's not that big of a deal to just kind of unleash the beast a little bit and be what your heart really is, a beast, and go crazy. And that's what stadiums are for. I'm pretty convinced of it. That's where everyone can go and shout and cuss as much as they want to the top of their lungs, and everyone's doing it around them. So it's in that moment, it's like legal. It's okay. You can unleash the beast a little bit here. Watch someone beat the crap out of someone and knock their teeth out literally and break their arms or something. How do you feel, man? Good, good. Yeah. Get me some new teeth and we'll do this again. And everyone's cheering for evil. What is the lie they sell? That this is not evil. That because it's a game created by man and the rules are created by people, it makes it okay if you follow the rules. Pretty sly. It makes it righteous if you follow the rules, even if that involves murder, as long as you follow your rules. Some killer gets interrupted, right? Like they've shown. He has a system for how he kills people. He created, because every killer literally goes into a strong judgment from the creator, and not a single one ever is any exception ever in all of history, all the time, all of ages, all the years on earth. There hasn't been one literal killer that hasn't gone in a literal strong delusion that needs to create its own law and delusion for what it's doing to justify what it cannot stop. So then it might as well create a law for what it does. If it follows this law, I follow law. I'm righteous. How stupid is that? It's frightening, but it actually believes the lie that it's righteous if it creates a law for the evil it does. That's why someone will say it's a game, it's a sport. You're evil for saying that beating someone with your fist is evil. You're evil for saying beating someone with the fist is evil. Go and do it all you want. I don't care what they do. I'm saying it's evil. I'm not going to stop it. Please stop. If I did evil, then I would get beaten up. The creator would allow me to get beaten up if I went in there and just, wicked, stop right now. I'm going to stop this wickedness. Kill him. That's what would happen. Get rid of him. And I would deserve it. I'm not afraid to say it's evil. My goodness. They're teaching that it's good. The heart is teaching it's okay because it follows some rules, laws in a game. which are laws, rules created. It's no different. Put game to it. Oh, that changes something. No, they're rules. They're laws created by people. It's following those rules, then it's okay. You break the rules, you're a bad guy. Go to prison for breaking the law of the game. He cheated. You can't do that. That's why someone won't kill someone, right? That's like a cowardly way out to just shoot someone in the back. Be a man and play the game. That's strength right there. What do they show every time? Hiding the best they can, that they're cowardly afraid of dying, you know. And the unrealistic clown movies is that's like a lie. They just make a joke out of it. That's not reality. It's not a joke. But those exist though, where everything's like I just kill 50 people. I can go sit down and relax now. It's no big deal. That's laughable nonsense. That never happened. That never happened. You go psycho, you go insane if you do that for real to your death. Every day someone's alive after doing that is like an utter torment. It's just better that they die, because of how strong the judgment is. That's how much resistance, not resistance, that's how much the creator hates evil, and he proves it by his judgments for evil being done, that it's not accepted. And that doesn't mean that it can't happen. No, that messes everything up if it can't ever happen. That's not the meaning. It's that he doesn't accept them. That strong punishment and judgment comes for it is proof he doesn't accept it. There's a punishment for it. That's proof that he's righteous, that he doesn't accept evil. Only his way. What a prideful creator. Only his way, my way or the highway. Except there's one thing that mankind forgot. This is the creator we're speaking about, not some delusional worm on earth. This is the creator that gave life to everything and everyone and created all things. He has the right to say it's my way or the highway or death. You just can't believe that though. And man is not the creator. Messiah is not the creator. He's Messiah. He's what the Father through his word says he is, and not the creator. That's pride. That's the man of sin. And where is that? In Daniel? Something about the man of sin is to be God. So the man of sin is their Messiah. They say Messiah is the man of sin because the man of sin is to be a God in its own mind. That's the man of sin, pride, God, Elohim in its own mind, the devil's lie. Their Messiah is the man of sin, the son of perdition. That's why it's called anti-Messiah, out of the truth. From their perspective and belief and sight, so-called sight, their Messiah is, the creator God, but it's the man of sin in reality. Anti-false Messiah, an image created a false Messiah, and man of sin, the son of perdition. It's laughable when some rockers screaming at the top of their lungs to me now, which I couldn't see going back far enough. And now I see the hypocrisy. Sons of perdition! Oh! It's a son of perdition. How can't anyone see that? I expose the government, son of perditions, devils. That's why it's smirking when it screams out its lyrics in front of the crowd, because it's guilty of whatever it's accusing. It's fully that itself. That's why it can't hold back its smirk. Unbelievable. And people do buy it. Some don't buy that literal thing and say they shouldn't talk about politics or this, they buy something else. Then these two groups fight. The fight on YouTube, fight everywhere, attack each other, murder each other. A lot of bloodshed getting spilled everywhere. Blood. That's hilarious. Somebody making millions of dollars doing evil, exposing the government, sons of perdition. That's great. A great trick. Hysterical yet not true. even though there's like true words like the government, okay, yeah, that's doing a lot of evil. That is true. But why it says it though, not true. Hiding its sins by exposing other evil out there. It's you can't be doing your accusation. That's the definition of a hypocrite. To never cease doing the evil and continue to do it with no care at all. This is perfect hypocrisy. Speaking out of truth, out of doing some good, out of doing the Father's works and not full blown hypocrisy. And that's being under his favor. It's accepting that we're no good. It's accepting everything that his word says about everyone. And he is more than okay with that. That is the way, is accepting, seeing self for what it is, denying self, and under his favor, which will be his way, how he makes someone perfected and work in his people to perfect them his way, his timing. It's already a given that, everyone's a sinner. And people are fine to say that. They're not fine to say that everyone will be healed, though. Messiah only died for a few people, I guess, not the whole world and the sins of the whole world. So what? It was just for a show, just to show it righteousness. Like I'm going to pretend to be good to the wicked. Just, this is the truth for all the world, just so I can say it's the truth for all the world, but it doesn't actually mean anything or apply. It will never come true. It doesn't mean anything. It's just so I can say and look good. Pretty scary what they really believe. In Adam, all died. In Messiah, all will be made alive. Messiah died for all the sins of the whole world. What is the gospel? To believe it right now. Or take the way of death continually, if that's what someone wants, and die in someone's sins and in death. Believe the good news, believe the gospel. They've perverted it, they've twisted it utterly. They've condemned everyone and put a heavy yoke and burden on everyone and said the free gift came to everyone already a long time ago. And yet everyone's doing evil and nobody's changing. Somehow this gift is doing nothing. You just have to take it from the sky, I guess. You have to choose it. How is it that Messiah chooses anyone? How is it that the Creator chooses anyone to give mercy to if we chose it? This is foolishness. It's not possible. It goes one way and it goes from the Creator's way. He chooses to have mercy on whom he has mercy, and someone receives if he gives. He doesn't give and someone doesn't receive. I gave, but he didn't receive it yet. He has to like jump and take it. See, that's the picture it creates. It's nonsense. If the Father gives, someone has the gift of faith, Spirit, requiring us to what? Do good now that can't do any good? No one is righteous, none are good, all are sinners. How do you take and choose good if you can't do that? That's why it's a gift. So those that receive in a gift for real, or those that are given by the Creator a gift, they receive it. It's not floating above them and now they got to choose good. What does Messiah say directly right to all his people, his disciples? You did not choose me. Don't forget, because everyone's going to say the backwards thing and be in a rebellion. Don't forget, you did not choose me. I chose you to produce good works. He did that. And what did Messiah choose? Well, yes and no. Here's how, because he says so. He chooses all those that the Father gives him. That's how. It's up to the Creator ultimately, first and foremost. He's the one.
He gives the Messiah to choose. He says so. We don't read it for nothing. He chooses all the ones the Father gives him, and he loses none. He will lose none. That's a good promise that lines up with all his word about never being forsaken for real, never being left in the dust to die now for those that believe. It's a promise for believers. I chose you, you did not choose me. He said so. How come people don't believe it? Do they think his word actually teaches that the heart of man chooses the creator of his own? Thousands of years went by to prove that's not true. The law came to Jerusalem to prove that's not true, and that nobody chose the creator. Nobody did any good works from the heart, just the image on a good day. Why was it such a big deal that Messiah did what he did? Because nobody did what he did ever. Never. The Father did doing the works in him. This is new. This is the new creation because it wasn't so before. Unlike the old creation, which has nothing to do with the Father's works in someone, but self works, which are never good. How can someone choose the good thing that they are enmity against and hate already from birth? Prideful and angry from birth, screaming and crying. Hard life coming. Maybe that's why babies cry. Oh, get me out of this light. This is horrible. It's bad. Maybe that's what it's like spiritually for someone that believes in the beginning. Light comes and it's like, then that'll come where it's like, whoa, this is difficult. This is bad. You know, it needs to get better. So the devil had power over all people in a way because there was no way. The new covenant, the new creation in Messiah, there wasn't a way until there was a way to actually overcome real sin in the heart. If no help is sent, man is no good continually. Hard to swallow. Ooh, yes. Impossible to swallow. Nobody would choose that. Nobody would choose to believe that. I know I didn't choose to believe that. That wasn't in my mind at all. It didn't even cross my mind after believing. Still didn't cross my mind. Didn't understand anything. Didn't choose the creator because I could see how rotten and wicked I am. Didn't even cross my mind. Still thinking pretty good, pretty prideful, pretty selfish. None of that is crossing the mind in the beginning. Nobody chose that knowing that in advance. Nobody believes that about themselves. That would require believing that for yourself to know that about self and then choose the good thing. No, nobody actually believes that about themselves. They just sell the image that they do. It's called false humility and many other things. It's not evil when it's true humility. False humility is evil, not actual humility. And if humility is shown anywhere in this world and it's always called evil, then the world proves that it doesn't believe in humility. Can someone picture it on a grand scale? What's actually happening when real humility is shown by someone and it's called wicked humility, false humility, and that's the only thing happening in the whole world? That means the world doesn't believe in humility, doesn't believe it even exists. It's just acting humility. That's it.
It's an abomination, the real thing, to its heart. Then why is it acting? What a strange thing to do for mankind to be masquerading all the time. Why are you hiding then? It's going to go back to the Father's truth being true. Yes, it is. Why do the hiding? Do what your heart really believes and says all the time. People won't do it. Why? Because they already are doing whatever the Creator's word says about worshiping self and the image of the beast and all sin and everything. That's why they can't do that. Because they're obeying the lust of evil that we read of. It's already true. And we're like watching the image start being torn from the world's face. It's getting bad. There'll be naked people everywhere, on camera, everywhere in the public. It's going to escalate on another level. You know, like when the line graph goes up steadily, but it's going to just go like in 1 year, it'll just be a massively worse. It's already happening. It's going to be worse next year. It's going to be who knows how many times worse 2 years from now and 3 years from now. It'll be everywhere. Once it starts falling apart that quickly, it's like a snowball. It's just going to be real bad everywhere. The image is being stripped. People just start acting like a beast that it is. It's already doing it. It's already doing it. It's already in the ads. It's already in the open. All the sexual perversions getting more and more open to the public, accepted in the public image. See, that's a bad sign. Even though that other thing was always sin, now it's just worse. It's just losing its image. Just saying, we will be free. Let's sin some more, and it's in utter death and misery. It's just insane. Can't figure out that all that sin is causing a death. God, it's sick. Maybe we're not supposed to bear evil at all. Can't bear it anymore. We read in Revelation somewhere, Messiah's words. You do this good thing, I know that you cannot bear those who do evil, or those who call themselves apostles and are not, and you cannot bear the evil. But we read about something about that. So you're not supposed to bear the evil. Wonder what that looks like to the Father who's already perfect. What does that not bearing look like perfectly? What does that hatred for the evil look like perfectly? Fiery, furious, vengeance, anger, wrath. Yeah, that's what it looks like. All for good. Interestingly, the apostle says something about what a clearing, what is it? Anger, fury, all these different things, because that he's bringing something out that happens spiritually. It's like those are the words. That's the best someone can do. It won't make sense until someone experiences it and sees it. Because it is all those things when it happens. All those different words he says. It's like all those words at the same time. That fire cleanses it, burns out the wicked. It's not just for doctrine, it's speaking about reality. Real. It's for burning. It's for cleansing, destroying the wicked. Now, in those that believe, destroying that wicked old man. to the dust. From dust pride came, to dust it will return. From dust envy came, to dust envy will return. From dust wicked murderous heart came, from dust to dust wicked murderous heart will return. From dust Adam came, to dust Adam returns. And the new man is from heaven, not from the dust. Spiritual words. Even the connection with the natural here, that the meaning of coming from the dust, carnal, lowly, Adam, representing that, and all that sin. What comes from the dust cannot rise, it needs to be going back down to where it came from, because it's dust, it's on the ground. You can't be prideful. That's not what gets raised up. So the new man, the new spirit within the man, the new creation, that's what can be lifted up, not the dust. That's a little confused. Dust needs to go back down. The wind blows, the dust comes up, and it goes back down. That's its place. That's all it can be. To rise above that is to be prideful. It's a lie. It's a trick. And all go back to the dust. What does that teach? That the church world does not teach at all. All will be humbled, just like a believer's being humbled right now. All must be humbled. All must return to the dust. All the pride must come down. The house has to fall on that sand that it was built on. It has to know from where it came, and that all of that was pride and a giant lie, and come back down to the reality, to the truth, and get humbled. And if this were not so, humble wouldn't exist. What would humble mean if this weren't true? To contrast it. Humble what? Because of this existing, humble exists. To, contrast it, bring it out. Somehow it's all working together for a plan, and all these other details are working out at the same time. Must have took a few eternities to come up with it or something, because it's too much to comprehend by a trillion. All the little things working together for the good, all the different pathways and all the different things work. This is working for that, and this is working for that. And if it was even slightly different, all of it would be broken, yet it's still working. And then it's over there, it's working the same way. It's working on a small scale, it's working on a medium scale, it's working on a grand scale, it's working on every scale somehow. And man thinks he's a genius. He's just like a drop in the ocean. He's not even a few drops in a bucket compared to the Creator. Forget that self pride wisdom and get actual wisdom from the Creator. That is actual wisdom and truth. Why would someone want anything else? The nations are like a drop in a bucket. We read that to the Creator. Nothing. Does that mean he hates people? No. Bringing out a truth that it's nothing. All the pride, all the false gods, all its so-called knowledge. It's a drop in the, it's nothing. Nations are nothing. It's a drop in a bucket to the creator. There's some strong things everywhere in his word. I mean, once the some of the spiritual thing is seen, people won't like it, even though there's some humor in it. They won't like that humor because it speaks against their sin, like woman making man a crust piece of bread. You just become a like a crust of bread. He's reduced to bread crust and some crumbs of bread. Pretty powerful, pretty true. A man is reduced to some breadcrumbs and crust after the woman's done with him. Unbelieving woman, worldly to the worldly man, Adam. Eve owns Adam, and Eve gets owned by the creator, and Adam gets owned by the creator. Adam gets punished for being a woman, and woman gets punished for being a man in its mind. It's backwards. Wants to switch everything around for some reason already. It hates the truth. Look at it. It's even rebelling literally. It's manifesting physically, which is like just screaming how bad it is. It's just like obvious it's bad. Cut your hair and go and rebel. We got to do the same work as this and that. And who's going to solve the world's problems? Give me a break. That's why we're told not to seek the world at all. Zero. That means having nothing to do with fixing it because it's broken. It's not to be fixed. Let it be broken and destroyed in due time. Creator will fix it in his own time. In the meantime, seek the kingdom of heaven and not the world. Someone doesn't connect two and two, one and one spiritually, that trying to fix the world and its problems is seeking the world and loving it. Be the change you want to be, but nobody lives it. And if you do, you'll be hated because it doesn't make sense in a broken world that's dying to be the change that you want to be, the change you want to see. It doesn't make sense in reality. We just like saying that. Oh, by the way, here's my money basket. You like my words? Give me money, female dog. No, that's not seeking the kingdom and his righteousness. That's seeking its own self and righteousness, so called. Yeah, there's not much incentive at all for the world to seek the kingdom. No understanding. It doesn't believe in things to come. It just makes it all that the more stupid and foolish to the world. It believes in the now, what it sees and what it can take now. It doesn't believe in anything to come in actual reality in its actual heart. It's why it needs to grab what it can now, because it doesn't believe in anything to come, because it doesn't believe that this is not its home. It does believe it's its home and that it must seize everything and grab it now because time is running out. The devil knows his time is short. Well, there's a good way for that, the Father showed me. There's a good way for that, same words, except not the devil. Someone knows their time is short. Well, same words. Believer knows their time is short. So what? Grab as much as you can, lust as much as you can, seek self-gain as much as you can. Time's running out. No, it's like this. There's not that much time to do good. Do good while there's still time. Time's running out. That's the good thing. That's the opposite of the evil. Take advantage. Advantage. Yeah, take advantage of time to do good. That's good. Taking advantage in this world is always some kind of evil. Taking advantage of someone, taking advantage of time running out for self-gain. But we read the apostle says something like this, to take advantage of the time because it's short. From now on, someone that's married, you're not married, punk. Someone that's not married, you're not married, and someone that's this is not that. Do they understand what he's saying? Or is he trying to literally say someone that's married is not married? How stupid would that be? Why do we read that? See, it's everything about not being connected with the heart to the world and everything that's in and of the world. Because this world's fading away and perishing. It's not forever. It's already smoked as far as the creator, from his point of view, it must be already over. It's over before it started. But we have to experience it. So you start wanting to line up to that truth, to believe that. This world's perishing. Messiah said so, taught so. It's fading away. And that's always true. Every day it's true, and it will be true, and it will finally be true. The world is perishing, and the lust of it is perishing. Every generation people die and perish. But eventually all its literal works will be faded away for the new creation, whatever that looks like. Who on earth knows what they haven't seen yet? Let's go and pretend to know for all the things to come, as if we know what we have never seen. It's to be, for a believer, this is the beginning of the new creation, of things, good things to come. Just starting now. Believe the good news about the creation that's coming, wicked, snakes, and religion. Believe the good news about the good things that are coming. Join the party or not, I guess. Skip the wedding. Create your own wedding. Get drunk. Start beating your servants and thinking it's real important to control people. Okay, if someone must, then they must do that. Find out how miserable that way is. And you just might get taken anytime. You might die tomorrow because there's no prospect for the wicked that don't believe. It could just be anybody randomly any day from their perspective. There's no prospect. There's no hope spiritually constantly, but even like literally, you don't know. I mean, an unbeliever wouldn't know. They never would have thought that that's them in the car crash. Every single person it happened to, it must have been that they never believed that would happen. So there's no, the Father's not watching over the same way as a believer. It's not the same. There's no prospect. Doesn't mean that there's no hope forever, just not right now. Not to someone that doesn't believe there's no hope. This makes sense to me. It's not a contradiction. There's no hope for those that don't believe. What are they hoping? There's no good to hope for like right now, to do now, or to do good tomorrow. There's no hope for ceasing evil. There's no hope for anything to come. It's like, it's all around true. It's just like hoping in worldly gain today. Like it. I know we read, it's a massive truth that it's not worth it. But the lust of this world so tempting to someone. It's a teaching that it's not worth it. To rise up, become rich and famous as a goal or something. Lose your soul, be in death, not worth it. Starting now, it's like it's not worth it now. Look at it. Look what they show in Hollywood. Someone learn from it. They're dead. Look at them. Like those riches, they're dead. They can't enjoy them. You're not allowed to. So why seek it? Acting like it's doing something for you isn't real. When you go home every day, it's death. You can't actually enjoy it. Who cares about the stupid act? If you can't even enjoy it in the heart, man, it's like a double stupidity. It's utter vanity. He doesn't allow it, but it's going to sell the damnable image that makes it look like that's a lie and look like the lie is true, that it's all great, it's enjoyable, it's awesome. They're all liars. They have to do that to themselves because they can't believe they're in a deep delusion, in heavy sin. So the people in destruction that have all these riches like this have to lie to the whole world and want them to be destroyed too, because they can't acknowledge what they've done. They're not going to acknowledge the truth. And even when they do, it's a deception and a lie when they say, well, money can't buy riches. And yet they still seek that every day. They obviously don't believe what they just said. When I see the proof for still wanting and loving all that every day. It just said that because it was like good sounding and good looking because the camera was on or something. And it liked the image that it created in people's minds and what people think of that image that it creates. It's like I said last one or the time before, it's like Fantasia. It's not real. I think I'll end with that there for the third or fourth time because I don't know. Oh, I read. I'm just looking for the first time. I didn't even look at my phone. Greetings. Shalom. Hey, Gabriel and Aaron, I believe. And I'm not sure if I know Appfire. How's it going? Well, I mean, that's a loaded question. Good, but with all the other things going on at the same time, sometimes harder, sometimes easier, never consistently always easy. That's a trick. When it starts becoming like that, someone's ready to fall. That's what I've learned. Someone's starting to believe in their heart his way is like real easy. This is great. They're in the middle of a fall. You just don't see it yet. You're not watching and praying anymore. Something like that. But the Creator's way is good. Doing good leads to good. Doing bad leads to bad. Doing sin leads to death. It'll hurt someone. It'll feel like death for a believer because it takes away a little bit of life for some kind of sin, because you can't accept sin. You have to learn to do good for real. Otherwise, good. And, I believe that. But not like this world though. Does it even ask like how you doing? Oh, good, man. I mean, it's like so shallow. And plus people are lying all the time. They're miserable and they say they're good. Even when it's hard, his way is good compared to a good day in the wide gateway. That's the truth. There's always hope even when it's difficult, unlike having no hope in unbelief. Someone's best day in the beast is just a trick. They're just setting themselves up for a real hard fall and disappointment after disappointment. And then when those things don't do what they used to, you have to chase more. And then that thing grows until like you hate everything. I mean, that's what to stay away from, where it grows so big, the desire and lust and the inability to be content or satisfied truly in the heart with anything, that by the end of someone's life in unbelief, it's like it can have the whole entire world and it won't be satisfied at all with it. That's pretty frightening to me.
I'd say run away from that and you'll do good. Run away from that, far and fast away from that. And just whatever the creator gives someone, that's enough. Some more, some less. Sometimes he gives, sometimes he takes away, which is, to accept both of them because otherwise we're partial. We also read not to pray for not having too much or not too little. He knows the definition of that, but people create their own definition of that and say, well, too much for me is 5 billion or something. It just goes crazy. But those are true words. Pray for that. Pray for not having too much and pray for not having too little. And both have its different reasons. One, they're both no good, but a little bit different from each side. Like reproach you and then too much forget you. So that's what the deceitfulness of riches will do to someone. They'll forget the creator more and more. It's like by the time some time passes by, they forgot him completely. That's probably why they thought it was a good time back when they were kids, because they still had some life when they were kids. And then it started perishing. When it started realizing it did sin and could see that it was sin and did it anyways, it started perishing. And that's why the nostalgia is so strong, because it reminds them of a time long ago. It's not the product, it's what it reminds them. And they want to be connected to that memory because they had more life back then. It's the truth. They had more life when they were kids. Anybody, applying to everyone. And we read not to say that the former times were better than these. We read that. That's a hard thing to do, to start overcoming. Have to do it. Because for a believer, it should be that those times were nothing. It was like no good. Now it's the future should be better spiritually. That doesn't mean it's going to look like something like the world thinks it looks like. It could mean you're in a prison and that's your last thing, like the apostle or something, and it's still getting better. It's a contradiction to this world. Not to say that the former things were better than now. There's a reason why we read not to do that, because that's like embracing the sin, embracing unbelief. If that's forever true, then someone must not be believing, because he gives life to those that believe. Life is good. How could it be better way back then than now in the future for a believer? It should be getting better. The light should be increasing like the moon until it's full, instead of decreasing. You start increasing after realizing it was pitch black and acknowledging its pitch blackness, then it can start increasing. But if someone keeps saying it's full, then they can expect decreasing until the lamp of the wicked is snuffed out, like we read. That's the end of that way. No good. All the light, whatever light in someone, it's like whew, gone. Frightening picture. That's waxing worse and worse, And it seems like some people go on another level, taking over, the lights out, and then it's like real, real bad. A little bit of restraint let loose. Someone ends up killing someone for real. I mean, that's like dark, dark, dark. Or the leaders of this world, the evil they do is like not comprehensible. It's so bad. It just got like no love in the heart. No murder, doesn't even want to act hardly like it cares. It's just descended into a deep pit.
And hopefully that's not so for anyone listening, for any believer. All right, peace, take care, seek truth from above.